So I put too much in my mouth, and I had to go to I went to the dentist, and they were like, "Hey, do you chew tobacco?" And I was like,
Oh, no.
"Sometimes." I'm like, "Why do you ask?" And they're like, "Well, it's not bad. You don't have mouth cancer, but there's like a little, there's like a pocket that was forming." And I was like, "All right, well, what's the solution to that?" And they actually say, like, because of some of the added chemicals like Copenhagen puts in their shit, if you try stuff like Red Man, which is like the leaf, it's not as bad for you. Pretty horrible advice from a dentist. Yeah. But now that I think about it, but now if I try to do long cut, I just get sick.
Yeah.
I like
less fiberglass in that.
Is there fiberglass? I've heard that rumor.
Fiberglass inside of that's what makes you cut your lip, but I don't know.
That's what I've always heard.
See, that's what I heard too, but I think it's like an old wives' tale. Personally,
I've never tried that. I've tried the Zyn, but the only time that it like doesn't make me sick to my stomach is if I'm already drinking. So.
Oh shit! And do you gut it? Like, do you swallow it?
What?
The Zyn?
Yeah.
Do you swallow it?
Well, yeah. Well, not the Zyn pouch, but like.
No, yeah, not the pouch,
like
but like your
saliva.
spit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because the first time I tried that, I was working at a warehouse, and I was like, I'm like stressed out. I can't gut tobacco. So I was going through one of those in, and I went on a couple deliveries, and I came back, and just it hit me, and I puked everywhere. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was bad. Ugh.
I had to take it out immediately, like the first time, and I was like, I don't understand the appeal. And then I tried it again when I was drinking, and it felt great. Like I can't even describe what it felt like because I'm so not used to that feeling that it gives you. But yeah, never again.
Yeah, it's a weird buzz. I love your shirt, by the way.
Thanks. This used to be his.
No shit.
At one point that fit me, which is even crazier to me.
That makes no sense. Yeah, so for people listening on like Spotify and Apple Music, and for all 8 of you that do that, so her boyfriend or fiance is off camera, and he's built like a silverback gorilla, and it is shocking to me that this shirt used to fit him. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I want to see him like with it on again, just to.
Yeah, you rip right through it.
I bought it at WrestleMania. I went to like a WrestleMania.
You went to a WrestleMania? How was that?
It was fucking awesome. But we went to like some vintage. They had a bunch of like WrestleCon or convention and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And we went over there, and they had all this vintage stuff. And I love the Ultimate Warrior, so I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'll buy this." And it was extra small, or whatever. I was like, "Fuck it, I'll take it." And I put it on. It was still small, but I mean, it technically fit.
That is such because I loved wrestling when I was a kid. Like I had all like the video games, and I played like the Raw versus SmackDown shit. Mm-hmm. But like growing up and looking at it now, I have like this weird like appreciation for what they're doing. Because like when you're a kid and you tell your friends, "Hey, I like wrestling," it's like, "Oh, it's fake." Yeah. Why do you like the fake stuff? And now it's like, "Oh, well, obviously it's fake," but it's like the world's best stuntman.
Yeah, like they're still risking their lives and putting their bodies out there, and like I don't know, I'm not like a huge wrestling fan. I never got into it until after we started dating, but like there's a few, like, do you know who Chris Benoit is?
That's a sad story.
Yeah, like those types of stories.
So we start out heavy, okay? Yeah. Happy Father's Day to the. Let's bring that up.
Sorry.
I'm
but
kidding.
Like that's a perfect example of like how it just completely changed someone's life and their entire family's life. So
well, he was the scary one for sure. And then because for people who are listening who don't know about that, he basically was on just like every other guy. They're on just a cocktail of steroids. Mix that with more drugs, more alcohol, stress, pain. I mean, the big thing for them is opiate addictions. Because, again, they're risking their bodies. They're breaking chairs over each other's heads. And they're, flying through tables and all this insanity. And he just broke mentally from what I read, right? He was, like, off of way too many pain pills. And he went and killed his whole family and then killed himself, right? Is that the story?
Yeah,
so, like
kind of.
The newer, like, kind of thoughts on that is that he had, like, CTE. His brain, what they said when they did, like autopsy on him, was that his brain was like that of a 70-year-old man or something like that. And then encephalopathy that he had, like the shrinkage and like the way that his brain looked, they were like, yeah, he took way too many shots to the head, all that kind of stuff. He, his signature move was that diving headbutt, and he freaking hit that 250, 300 nights a year, and yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously the steroids, the drugs, painkillers, all that stuff, that didn't help, obviously. But what they say now, I mean, we watched his what was that documentary, Dark Side of the Ring?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they were saying.
How was that? Because I heard that was super fucked up.
It's really sad. But
that whole deal, like apparently there's an incident with Ric Flair in an airplane where he was like running around naked and harassing people.
I didn't watch that one or hear that part of it. But they have a few different Dark Side of the Rings.
Yeah.
There's a couple seasons, but Ric Flair was actually in like a horrible plane crash or helicopter crash, something that broke his back. And he was like a 300-pound, like a heavyweight wrestler for a long time. And like everyone thinks of Ric Flair now, and he's like pretty like skinny, lean, like older dude. But
yeah,
he was like 300 pounds, big old dude. And he had to lose all that weight and all kind of. His back is still messed up from that plane crash.
Man, that's
he had
scary.
to adapt from all that.
And because like the professional wrestling, that's how I found out about steroids, like what they could do to you because of Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, that was Chris Benoit's. That happened like a few years before, right? That was his best friend.
Yeah, yeah, and he just had a heart attack, right?
Yeah,
remembering that right? He had a heart attack.
It was a heart attack, and he was, I think, like 38 years old, 40. He was something really freaking young.
Yeah, super young.
Yeah, and just like. I mean, his cousin, I think, or no, his nephew, Chavo Guerrero, found him. And, and, I mean, that story's fucked up, too. Like, all those, like, for whatever reason, pro wrestlers have, like, such tragic life,
Well, I mean, when you think about it, like, what they're doing, again, like, they're, like, the world's best stuntmen, but they're on this grand stage. So they're under all this pressure, and an uncanny amount of pressure. They're traveling all over the world. They wrestle, like, what was it? I think I heard somewhere like 250 nights out of the year, and like they train harder than most like real athletes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there's no health care. They're like, I don't agree with all of his politics, but do you know who John Oliver is? He does the Last Week Tonight. He used to be on the Daily Show. He's like a British comedian.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, he runs a thing on HBO. And he's hyper liberal, like super duper liberal. And he did an expose on the WWE and how, like, the long story short is Vince McMahon treats them terribly. They're all treated as contract workers, but they can only wrestle with WWE. Like, they can't go anywhere else without breaking contract and losing money and doing all this crazy shit. And then now Vince McMahon just stepped down and missed, the sexual harassment shit?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, oh, God, that whole thing is just scary to me.
Yeah. Vince McMahon is a character, to say the least. He's just, I don't know. I feel like everything we watch from him, like that, when he was deadlifting 1,000 pounds.
That was bullshit.
Yeah.
That was 1,000.
Because first of all, it's a squat machine, right? Technically.
A belt squat. Yeah.
And
belt squatting.
Yeah, the belt squatting. Because again, for people who haven't seen that, it's like you literally have like a weightlifting belt around your waist, and it's strapped to this machine that dips down into a like a deficit, right?
Yeah.
And you load the plates on the side, and it's supposed to simulate a squat without putting pressure on your shoulders and your back, and then your lower back. Yeah, is that the whole point of it?
I felt it the most in my lower back. But that
so you've used one.
Yeah.
I'm talking out of my ass then. Okay, so how's it like?
No, well, I've only used it like twice, and it was so uncomfortable for me that I never I mean, technically, it was never in my program after 2 weeks. So I'm sure if I used it more often, it would be more comfortable for me. But I think part of the reason is that the one that is at Iron Soul, I don't know if I'm too short for it or if I just didn't set it up properly, but it hurt my lower back so much.
Well, it's from what I saw, it's dragging you into the ground, or at least pulling you into the ground, from what it looks like. To me, anyway.
Kind of, yeah. Well, you definitely have to brace before you let it go. And I didn't exactly understand how far away from it I should be standing. You have to really make sure the setup is right for it to probably feel okay.
Yeah. Is it more of a gimmick, do you think? Like, it's just a new way to do things, but, like, it's not really necessary?
I don't know enough about it to, like, say yes or no to that. I know a lot of people use it, so I don't think that it's... I mean, I'm sure there's benefits to it, but like I said, I only did it twice, and I'm sure I'm gonna have to do it again at some point in the future. I'm sure that it's gonna be incorporated somewhere, so then I'll know a little bit more.
Well, because you have a big meet coming up, right? In 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Next week, actually.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, man. So, and that's in Nevada, right? Mm-hmm. So what's that all about? Because, like, I saw that bit about you guys on the news, and, like, how long has your team been training up for this?
For most of us, probably around 16 weeks. That's when I started prepping for it. But one of the coaches at Iron Soul, Myra, she put together a team of all women, and I think she's been wanting to do that for a while. Just get a group of all women and do a meet together. And I don't know how often these, like, all women meets happen, but one of the powerlifting federations, the WRPF, they're the ones putting together that meet in Las Vegas. And so she pretty much, like, got people from the gym to ask who was interested, and a lot of us, it's like 30, I think the total number of us is like 30 women that are going.
Shit.
So it's a lot of people. I think we're taking up either half or, like, close to half of the women there. And
this is my, not to cut you off, this is my lovely girlfriend.
Sorry.
Hi.
Everything okay?
You guys. Oh, yeah.
Oh, hi. Missed you.
Hi.
Okay, so there's 30 of you doing this, and so the competition itself is all women. It's not just like there's a women category; it's all women in its entirety. That's crazy.
Yeah. So it'll be pretty cool to just be around a bunch of chicks lifting heavy weight. Because the two that I've done before have been men and women. So, but yeah, all of us are trained by different coaches at the gym. Like Myra coaches a good amount of the people that are competing. And there's a few more coaches. So yeah, all of us are pretty exhausted by now. We're just ready to do it.
I could not even. So what is your training like? Because all I know, the one thing I've trained for in my life, I just lost weight, an exuberant amount of weight, and just had to stick to a diet for about like 5 months. So what does training look like for you?
So when I started out, it was, so I did an evaluation with my coach because I had never been, like, formally coached before. Jake coached me. But I was like,
that went swimmingly, you know.
But I was, like, mostly focusing on just deadlifting at that time.
Well, from what I saw on your Instagram, you won a meet, right? You placed somewhere at a meet.
Well, I technically placed, but when you're, like, one of the only people competing in your category, like your weight class and your age, it can be pretty easy to, like, win.
Hey, a win's a win.
Or to get
Yeah.
Yeah, I count that as a win.
That is a win.
Yeah, a win is a win.
And I mean, you won, like, the night of the living deadlift thing, and then you placed in the deadlift only, right? And then you won your. Yeah. Was it first place in that last meet in Farmington?
No.
Is that a win as well?
They have gyms in Farmington?
Yeah, we drove out to Farmington.
Yeah. That's about the only thing that they had.
Oh my god.
It was about 2
that
blocks.
And, like, a bar.
Yeah, it was about 2 blocks of
next to
buildings.
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it depends on how you compete in the meet, because you can literally do, like, there's a deadlift only category, there's a push pull, which is bench and deadlift only, or you could do the full meet, which is squat, bench, deadlift. So, like, someone, let's say, competing in a full power meet, they could win, like, the overall, like, best total. Like, they add up their squat, bench, deadlift, and they have the highest total, but maybe they're deadlifting less than someone who's competing in a deadlift only category. So, like, it kind of depends on how you're looking at it, I guess. Most people will compete in the whole thing, like they'll do a full meet, so that they'll prep for the full meet. So they'll be doing all 3 of the lifts every week. So like when I started, I was doing 4 days a week. I would have a squat day, a bench day, and a deadlift day, and then a dynamic day where you work on like speed and you do a bunch of like kind of other, like you're using like resistance bands or chains, or you might be doing like core. I was doing like pull-ups on that day, just stuff like that. And then you have different accessories thrown on each day. So like on a deadlift day, I would do like my regular deadlift, and then you start out doing like higher reps, and then you start tapering it down the closer you get to the meet, and you're adding more weight and doing less reps. So,
right.
Yeah.
The podcast is brought to you by one of our brand new sponsors, Bucked Up Nutrition. Look, it's no secret that I love going to the gym. Fitness and nutrition is a huge part of my life, and Bucked Up has partnered up with the podcast, help support it. I cannot be more excited. This is one of my favorite workouts. It's a high stimulant nootropic. I'm hitting PRs today, so I cannot wait to use this. The Banff Black by Bucked Up Nutrition. They've also got, as you can see, some awesome clothing here. With my t-shirts, I personally prefer the short logo here. Use our promo code at checkout, OKPod20, to get 20% off of awesome clothes, supplements, all their products here, to include their stacks. That's OKPod20, another awesome stringer here, for an additional discount at checkout. So stuff like, I understand the meaning behind using like bands, like the resistance bands, like the deadlifts. But, so why do you use chains? And that has never clicked with me. Is it just to look? It looks fucking cool. Don't get me wrong. You look cool.
I actually haven't used chains yet on my deadlift. I've used chains doing lunges, like back lunges with dumbbells, and that was to be more stabilized, I guess, and to focus on like staying upright and not like leaning too far forward, or because it really makes you focus on like being balanced. Because if you're just like lunging regularly, a lot of people will just have like, they might like go from side to side, or like they might be leaning too far forward or back.
I don't know. I've definitely like lunged around the gym like Gumby a couple times for sure, but I've never thought about using chains. That's funny.
Yeah, people start incorporating resistance bands and chains. So like resistance bands I know a little bit more about because I do those almost every week at this point. But so some people might be weak at the bottom of a movement, like specifically talking about deadlifts. Like some people might be weak at the bottom, and some people might be weak with locking it out. Like they have no problem getting it off the floor, but when it gets to that like middle point and you're needing to bring it all the way up, they might struggle with that. With deadlifting in the sumo stance, it's more common for people to have a harder time getting it off the ground. So like my coach saw that I was like not getting it off the ground fast, and so that's I think that's one of the reasons he had me doing resistance on there, and just to get like when you're practicing with resistance bands with lower weight, you're trying to get it up fast. So if you're practicing fast with a resistance band on top of that, then when you do it without the resistance,
it's just gonna shoot right up.
Yeah, that's the point. So. But chains, I haven't gotten to do that.
Chains is the same idea. It's like the more of the chain that's on the ground, like when you start a deadlift, all the chains are going to be on the ground. So there's no weight at the bottom. But as you lift it up...
it's just incremental.
Accommodating resistance is what they call it. So there's like more weight as you move the bar up. So when you're locking out, there's the most weight. People use them for squat and bench as well, I think. But I think deadlift is kind of where like most of the chain would be on the ground, and that's kind of the idea.
Right.
Fix your lockout or whatever.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Actually, I never thought of it that way. So, okay, that was going to be one of my questions. So when you're deadlifting, are you doing like a standard stance, or are you doing a sumo pull, or does it matter what you do? Like, is there regulations on like? Because I mean, it would make more sense to do sumo, right? Because your range of motion is cutting like kind of like a third of it off.
Well, that's what a lot of people think, and that's why a lot of people say that sumo is cheating. Haters. Haters.
I've never said that. I've never
I
said
know. He pulls conventional, but a lot of people think it's cheating because it looks like the range of motion is a lot shorter, but it really just depends on your like measurements and your, like, someone could have really long arms and like a really short torso or really short legs. But we were just watching a video. I forgot what that guy's name is, but he did like an experiment where he had a bunch of different heights of people with different like arm lengths and torso lengths and leg lengths lift the same amount of weight, sumo and conventional, and it really just depended on the person whether they had a shorter range of motion or not, because some of those people had a shorter range of motion lifting conventional. So yeah, it kind of depends, but yeah, the short answer is it's cheating.
Oh, come on. It is not cheating. I've tried pulling sumo, and I think it's hard.
It's weird. I tried doing that this morning, actually. I was like, I have a little extra time on my, before I have to go before I have to get into an appointment, I'm going to try it out. And I just scarred up my shins. I'm like, this is not fun. I just went right back to conventional. That was not fun.
I think it's difficult. I think there's a lot more technique involved. I think when you're conventional deadlifting, like, the way I do it, I can kind of just fucking like try to just brute force it up with a conventional. But if you try to do that with sumo, like I've tried to do it with sumo because I had the same thought process. Like, oh, it should be way easier because less range of motion, and it's really not. You have to know how to like move your body in that way, and I can't do it. Like honestly, I've tried, can't do it.
Well, not only that, I feel there's a lot more flexibility involved with sumo.
Oh, for sure.
Because like if I do more than like 3 reps on sumo, just my inner thighs just are on fire. My inner thighs and my hamstrings, they just want to give out.
Yeah, it definitely. I make sure that I warm up like before deadlifting every time. If I just went into it like without trying to open up my hips and like,
which is what I did.
Yeah. I do this thing where I just like stand and I like.
Bring it around town.
Yeah. And then you could do like leg swings, and then you could do different like stretches on the ground where you're like opening up your hips more. But yeah, if you're not used to it, it'll definitely be harder. But if you practice that, maybe you'll find out that that's what you prefer, and some people can lift heavier.
Yeah, I don't know. I just because like. I posted a video of me deadlifting. My buddy actually texted me like, "Dude, you're doing it all wrong." And he taught me like better like foot stance, and it's giving me more like drive to get it up. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I do stretch before my workouts. Like I'll do like leg swings or like this hip abductor movement I saw on YouTube. But like that's something I definitely need to work on because I just do it to make myself feel good. I'm like, yeah, you stretched. Good job. You did the thing. You checked the box. How long have you been powerlifting for? Like, when did that, like, click in your head? Like, yeah, I'm going to try this out.
Well, I don't think it started out as, like, I want to power lift. I think it just started out as, I like this deadlifting thing. Let's just keep doing this. But maybe a little over, like, definitely over a year.
Probably 2 years, maybe, that you've been, like, deadlifting. I don't know.
Yeah. And then, I did the meet that I did in January. Like right before then, I hadn't really been practicing squat or bench, and maybe like 2 months before the meet in January is when I started.
Because that's when I was writing her program, and I have no experience doing anything like that. No formal training at all, you know. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of like had her do what I normally do, and that's basically all just like deadlifting and whatnot, you know. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think is over 2 years. I know it's like the quarantine is kind of like when like we really started lifting because we kind of started on this together, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's awesome.
I think it's like over quarantine. Yeah.
Yeah, we were working out. We lived in Colorado at the time, and his sister she runs a gym out of her house. Well, she's a dietitian and like a strength coach. So she's like a legitimate. She has like
credentials. Yeah,
credentials. She wasn't just like running a sketchy like personal training thing. I didn't mean to make it sound that way, but like when you say out of your garage, it like there's more to it. Like her and her husband like completely converted it to like an actual gym. Like they
Yeah.
had the gym, like the black flooring in there. They have like Rogue squat racks. They had all sorts of really good equipment. So they really switched it up in there. And so we started in there, and then we got really used to working out at home.
Yeah.
And so it was really hard to get back into working out in a regular gym, just being around people again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, 'cause you're a lot more free at your house. You can do whatever you want. Yep. You can. Personally, that's why I like going to Legion so much. Is there's hardly like, and I don't mean this in like a poor way, but like there's hardly ever anyone there. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people go. So it's pretty much a personal garage gym that's like 5 minutes away. So I totally fucking get that.
Yeah, like the less people. Yeah, I agree. It's the more crowded the gym is, the more like anxious I feel, and
yeah,
the less likely it is that you're gonna like be able to get to whatever piece of equipment that you want as fast as you want to. So
no, but that's like a real thing that not a lot of people acknowledge, at least openly. It's like gym anxiety. Like that's a real fucking thing for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And then I was actually talking to Garrett about it. We've talked about it a couple times, and it's weird. He's talked to people about like, he's basically trying to find out ways to like make Legion better, or to do this, that, and the other with it. Mm-hmm. And some people like actually love crowded gyms, and that makes no sense to me. That's right? Weird. Yeah, they want to go to a place where it's like what was the analogy he used? It's like, have you ever seen American Psycho?
Have I seen it? Yeah.
Yes. Okay, sweet. So, because they don't go to the restaurants because they have good food. They go to the restaurants because they're upscale and to be seen. Exactly. So it's that same mindset with these people who want to go lift, not like to make themselves. Obviously, they're gonna make themselves like give themselves a better body and like be more healthy, but they're doing it for like Instagram, and they're doing it for Twitter, and they're doing it just to be seen. It'd be that person in the Lululemon and whatever Gymshark shit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's people out there who legitimately like they want the rush of like I got the last bench, or like it's so fucking strange to me. That does. Like I went to I love talking shit about this gym. I went to a Defined Fitness. Oh. I went to the one up in the Rio Bravo area. It's like Central and whatever, Central 98th. Yeah, like up there. Too, yeah. And I went there with my buddies, and it was packed to the brim. First of all, right, absolutely packed. And the guy who was at the front desk, he's like, "All right, well, since it's your first time here, it's free, but if you want to come back, a day pass is $25."
Outrageous. That is insane.
Yeah.
It's like $25 for an hour.
That's a month at Iron Soul, I'm pretty sure, or at least like $30 is there. Like that's a month anywhere, really. Yeah. Like $25, $30, like that should get you a month somewhere.
Well, when I was going to Define, it was like $45 a month or something.
But what was your startup fees though?
Yeah, it's like $150 just to, and then you have to sign a 1-year contract or something crazy. I remember it being like insane. Because I was just telling Jayme how I used to work out at Planet Fitness. Like that was the first gym because I couldn't afford anywhere else. You know what I mean? Like that was it. I was like $10 a month, like as a broke college kid. You know what I mean? And then when I signed up for Defined or whatever, it was like night and day. But yeah, like if you, it sucks because if you only have a little bit of money, like, and you're kind of limited on options, and you go to Planet Fitness, like, that's gonna stunt your whatever you're trying to do, your lifting. Like you're not gonna be able to get anything done at Planet Fitness. You know.
Well, see, I like Planet Fitness as like what they could be. It's cheap. Yeah. It's motivational, right? It's very accepting. But then when they say, all body types are accepted, this is a judgment-free zone, but then they have their fucking lunk alarm. Yeah. Like I remember, I was visiting family like 3 years ago, I think, 3.5 years ago in Alabama. And the only gym I had access to that I could get into around there was a Planet Fitness because they live in like a super small town. And I dropped a dumbbell, like a little 30-pounder. I just dropped it. I didn't even mean to. I just like put it down, and the thing went off. I was like, what the fuck?
It's like they make it worse. Like if someone's annoyed by the weights dropping, that's like one thing, but then they have to be like, oh, they dropped the weights. Beep,
beep, beep, beep. They fucking set off the reggaeton alarm and stuff.
Well, and then, but they say it's like, oh, we're here to make you better and we're here to get you healthier, and they have pizza night. or they have like free donut Tuesdays.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah, they could totally put that money towards like something else. Well,
Anything else.
anything else.
Quite
I
literally.
feel like they've kind of phased out though, huh? Like I remember they used to be popping up everywhere, like old Hobby Lobbies and shit. Like used to be becoming Planet Fitnesses and whatnot. I think that they're kind of getting phased out. I don't know. It seems like
Maybe. I don't know. It's just like, I mean, you're totally right about like it could be something great because like I think fitness and strength training should be accessible to everybody. Like it sucks that some places just have like a super expensive membership, but also like businesses need to be able to stay afloat too and like retain their members and stuff and like fix things when they need to or like expand when they need to, like. So I don't know anything about like the business side of gyms, but
no, me neither. But I mean, if you have an idea, I guess like stick to it. You know, because there's enough pressures out there. What with social media and just honestly just social media, because everything's social media now. I was gonna say YouTube, but that's pretty much a social media platform. It's easier now more than ever to find these what were 20, 30 years ago, they're just the guys and girls you'd see in like the bodybuilding magazines. Now you can potentially have one-on-one conversations with them. You can comment on those pictures that would be in the magazines, right? In the little Jane Fonda videos or whatever came out back in the 80s and the 90s. And it's all like, a lot of it's great. Like there's a lot of fitness people that I thoroughly enjoy, but like a lot of just a super toxic culture.
yeah.
And like I never realized like how bad it was until I got into it. You know, I have some friends like that, and then like meeting Garrett and his girlfriend and finding out like their side of things. And then even like doing the competition here in New Mexico, like that shit was like, not to be that guy, because like it's hard to say this because I fucking lost and have any credibility, but like that shit was so rigged. Like it's insane how rigged, like, and it's like just that organization too. Like I think the more like I dug into it, and then my buddy who coached me, he's been bodybuilding for 10 years. He's still natural, no matter how much I poke and prod at him. He's still natural. And he just competed in Florida under the same competition, and they almost kicked him out because they don't drug test. They polygraph you.
Oh, I remember hearing you say that.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, so
it's insane.
Yeah, they polygraph you.
Is that cheaper?
That's
than
intense.
a drug
It can't
test?
be. It can't. Well, actually, I don't know. Drug testing has to be pretty expensive to pay for.
Well, if you're testing, you have to do a very specific panel if you're testing for anabolics. And that can get expensive for sure. But I mean, okay, so here's a great example. I technically started TRT the week before I competed. The podcast is brought to you today by OrganicPriceBooks.com. I love comic books. That is absolutely no secret to any of my friends, family, or listeners. And right here is just some of the comics that I have either bought or gotten sent to me by the fine folks over at Organic Price Books. As you can tell, they have a wide selection from DC, Independent, Marvel, and they have become the #1 spot for everything omnibus, oversized hardcover, or just general collected editions. No matter what you want, they've got it. Go to their website and at checkout, use our promo code, just my name, Noah, Noah, to get additional discounts on top of what they already offer, which ranges anywhere from 30 to 50% off. OrganicPriceBooks.com, use my promo code, Noah, Noah, and start reading comics today. So technically, I had one shot of testosterone in my body when I went to the polygraph. And I completely spaced on it, to be frank. And I just sat down, did the polygraph, and the guy was like, have you ever had artificial testosterone or anabolic steroids ingested or injected into your body? And I was like, nope. And I passed the polygraph. Flying stars.
So you beat it.
Yeah.
You beat the polygraph.
Oh, yeah. And then it was funny because like one of the questions they asked was, have you ever lied to stay home from work? Everyone's done that.
That's not fair.
Yeah, but I said no, and I still passed.
No, I have not.
Yeah, because like I remember I was sitting there, and I was just staring at the wall, and I was like, no. And then I realized I lied, and I was like,
oh.
But anyway, so my buddy, they like the minute he walked in the room, because this dude's at like, I don't know how the hell he did it. Honestly, he's at like 4% body fat. He is shredded to the gills. Like me and a couple of my other friends, we were looking at him. We were like, dude, are you okay?
Peeled out of his tree.
Yeah. We thought he was going to like go down a couple times. Because he's posting on Instagram all the time. And I guess he walked in there and the guy just started hammering him like immediately. Like, you're on steroids. What are you taking? Tell me what you're taking. I'm not even going to polygraph you. Like, what are you taking?
He's just like accusing him and not even asking.
Yeah, and this guy is super well articulate. He's very well spoken, but English is his second language. And sometimes when he gets nervous, the English isn't his best. And so he's like, no, like, what the fuck are you talking about? So he sat down. The first time they did it, it came back neutral. So my theory is that because they went back, retested him, and it came back like, okay, we'll let him compete. But I think the polygraph guys went to the judges and they're like, "Hey, fucking contestant 69. He tested neutral at first. He's not natural." And he showed me the pictures of the other competitors, and he was like, because the guy who won first place was super conditioned. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, my buddy had beaten him, but they were awarding conditioning. And when my friend went to go ask, like, hey, like, what could I have done better? What did I get? Like, what did I not do right to not even place? Because they were giving trophies to top 5, and there was 8 of them. So he's like, what the fuck did I not do? Mm-hmm. And they're like, you need to be bigger. Try again next time. Literally, like, verbatim, you need to be bigger. Try again next time. So, yeah, that shit is like, and that's what kind of like attracts me more to powerlifting, like as an idea. Mm-hmm. Is like, I don't think you can't really debate that. If you lift more than this guy, you win.
That is the whole appeal, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't, like, if you lift something, like, and you're lifting it in front of 3 judges who are telling you whether you lifted it correctly or not, and they give you a lift, like, because you can get a lift or a no lift. There's 3 judges. If 2 of them pass the lift, like they give you a white light, then you have the lift. If 2 of them give you a red, then you didn't get it. But if you get that and they give you the white lights, like no one can tell you that you didn't do it. Like they can critique your form and say whatever they want, but like you lifted the weight. And even if you're just at the gym, like at your house or at wherever you go and you get that weight up, like you got the weight up.
Yeah.
And like no one can say that you didn't. Like, and there's things that you can fix with form and whatnot, but like there's no contesting that.
So what defines a no lift? I've actually never heard of that. So can you like lift it improperly or?
Oh yeah, yes.
Oh shit.
Which
have you had experience with that?
I do a lot of improper lifting.
Yeah, there's all kinds of rules, but
yeah,
what like depth on squat is like a big one, you know.
Yeah, so like with squat, and again, this is something that can depend from federation to federation. So you kind of have to like educate yourself on their rules and whatnot, because each one will have their own rule book. It gets very, very nerdy, but like, so yeah, for squats, if you're not hitting depth, which a lot of federations will say that your hip crease has to be below your knees, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you have to break like the 90-degree plane.
Yeah.
Interesting.
If you don't get to that depth, then it's not low enough. And then with bench, like one of the main things is like if you, okay, and there's commands too. So if you don't lift the weights when they say to, or if you lift them before they say that you can, that's also a no lift.
Oh, fuck off.
So
yeah.
Oh, fuck off. I'm sorry. I decide when the weight gets off my body.
That's what I'm saying. That happened to me twice in the same freaking beat. I unracked it and just started squatting, and he was all squat, like when I was like already down. I was like, oh, I fucked that up. And then I just racked it, and he's all racked, like after I racked it. And they were like, you gotta follow commands. Like, okay, my bad, that was my fault.
Yeah, you literally.
You have to wait for them to say, like, you know, what did they say for bench, and
they say start.
So
you have it up here.
Yeah.
You have it unracked, and they say start, and you bring it down to right here, and then you have to keep it there. It's a paused bench. It's not just like down up. You have to keep it there, pause it, and then when they say bench
Yeah.
or they say press. And you press it up, and then you have to wait until they say rack before you fucking rack it.
Listen, half the help I get from my bench max is breaking my sternum.
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
if I don't get that in a competition, what's the point? That's so stupid.
Yeah.
That is so stupid.
It definitely like, I don't know. It definitely like takes a lot of weight off of your bench when you have to like pause it like that. Yeah, it takes a lot of weight, so it's not like you can't really like ego lift your freaking bench like I like to do. You know, you have to really pause it and then freaking go, and it takes 40 pounds off of like what I can bench normally. You know what I mean? And it's, I don't know.
If your ass comes off of the bench,
yeah.
There's literally a judge when you're benching. He's down on one knee, looking at your ass to make sure it doesn't come off the bench. And then with deadlifting, I feel like so many things could go wrong with that. Like if you ramp it, which means like you're kind of pulling it up your thighs, they'll call you on that. If at any point if the bar goes like down and up and then down again, or like vice versa, like up, down, up, like it's not a straight bar path, they'll call you on that. If you don't lock it out all the way, like if you have soft knees is what they call it, and you're kind of just like right here and you don't have it all the way, like your shoulders need to come back, they'll call you on that.
And then if you drop the weight,
if you drop the weight, you have to show control through the entire movement is the whole thing. So if you get the weight up and you are so excited and you just fucking drop it, you won't get the lift.
I think they'll give you a warning, right? Or will they just tell you?
Oh, yeah, I guess that it does depend on
some
the
poor
judges.
bastard pulls like 700 pounds. Oh, he dropped it. Do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it again, tough guy. Think you're so cool slamming your weight. Do it again.
Badass.
Yeah, and they'll announce when you're going for a record too. So imagine the judges being like, "All right, we have John Smith about to break a world record," and then he gets it up, and they're like,
Drops it.
Bro, you can't drop it. Sorry.
You slammed your weights in a deadlift? Oh, rookie mistake.
Yeah, like, and I only have competed in the USPA, so it can depend on the judge that happens to be judging that day, because there's a head judge and then there's 2 other judges. It can depend on the federation and their rules, so there's like so many different factors, but so when you're training and when you're prepping for these things, you have to like train with those things in mind and just try to have as much control as possible and like just be as present as possible, and like when people are critiquing you, you just have to keep that in mind and like not let it destroy your confidence.
Yeah. And then those judges they're all like nice people, dude. They're just doing it out of love for the game, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like they're not getting
sure.
paid or anything. Like I don't think. And if they are, it's not much money, you know? So they're just there to like, especially like local meets, they're kind of just there, you know, to like help lifters, help new lifters and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm sure once you get to like national or worlds and stuff, it gets pretty serious. Like they take it very serious.
And they really encourage you to like, if they gave you a red light, they really encourage you to like go to the judge that gave you that light and ask what you were doing, so that next time, like if you're on your first or second attempt, that you don't do what they called you on, or what you like. If you have soft knees, then and it's really cool because when you're lifting, you have all these people like cheering for you and like just like screaming, and so like, and they're all watching you, so if they see that you're like not locking something out, they're gonna be like, lock it out. So it's like, it's cool because you're getting that feedback like while you're in the middle of the lift too. So
it's all very supportive. You know.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. It was, and that's another thing that kind of like, not like made me mad, but it kind of like put me off about when I went to go compete. For my thing, they when we got done, because my coach was telling me, he's like, hey man, like whether you fucking place first or last, go to the judges, same exact thing, like get a critique, figure out like what you did right, what you did wrong, so if you want to do this again, you can know what to work on. It's like, okay. So were all backstage, and literally like they weren't like, hey, so like good job, you can go do this, that, and the other, or like whatever's going on. Literally like in the middle of them giving first, second, and third their places, everyone else that was back there, so including my sorry ass, right? We're all back there, and they're like, all right, y'all can go home if you want. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I know that. Like, I can leave, I can do what I want. I get that.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, okay. And I pull up my phone. I'm like, what the fuck, already? So I put my phone back down, and I was like, hey, are we able to speak to the judges? And they're like, yeah, but you'd have to wait till the whole thing is over. I don't think you want to do that, right? And I was like, no, I'll go fuck myself.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I've had no experience in bodybuilding or anything like that, but it just seems also subjective and like, I don't know. It like the whole like bodybuilding culture. I think the sport of bodybuilding is freaking like awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's badass.
But I don't know. There's something about it, like in the especially like local levels and stuff. It's almost like perpetuating like a unhealthy living. Like in general,
it is unhealthy.
In general, like I think bodybuilding kind of perpetuates an unhealthy kind of lifestyle where it's supposed to be like about health and about fitness and all this stuff, but it's not really. It's like, well, we're taking all these steroids. We're starving ourselves, you know, dehydrating ourselves to look a certain way. And like I said, like respect, because that's extremely hard to do. I'll never do that. You know what I mean? I'll never be able to do that. Starve myself down to 4% body fat, you know, and even just standing on stage in front of a shit ton of people takes a lot to do that, you know?
So it's funny you bring that last part up, because you hit the nail on the head. It is not healthy. It is not fun. I in a weird way, I enjoyed prep. It became a very sadistic game. But being on stage, maybe just because the lights were so blinding, or like, well, for whatever reason, I couldn't focus. Like, I knew what I was doing, and I knew like what I was doing, like whether it was like obviously I knew like why I was there, and like I was posing and like following the commands of what they're doing, but I just couldn't focus. I had no idea why. And then the lights were so bright, I couldn't see shit. Like literally, because we were down at the chemo theater, and couldn't see shit. And the weirdest thing too is like, I could hear I was only focusing like on the command, because there were people like yelling and cheering, and my poor buddy who coached me, he was yelling at me for what to do, and I was trying to pay attention to him, but like it was weird, like how deafening it was. Very strange moment, like out of body experience, very strange. But yeah, no, that's it is a misconception. Like that's why I would almost prefer, if I were to ever compete again, to try powerlifting than bodybuilding, because with bodybuilding, that was like the last month. I started out at 1,200 calories a day, and the last 10 or 9 days was 1,000.
That's insane, dude. That is insane. For a grown man to be eating 1,000 calories a day is just insane. Even for a grown woman,
anybody
eating that is
anyone over the age of 12.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's insane.
Yeah, it sucked. So what is do you keep a diet for powerlifting? Because I mean, the conception with powerlifting is you eat a whole pizza, you go deadlift, you do 3 reps, you take a nap, you go home.
Yeah, well, that meme is true. Like half none of the nutrition and half the reps of bodybuilding. Just kidding. No, I think it really depends on the person, and that's like the cool part too, because like if someone wants to be super on top of their eating and like let's say, I don't know, count macros or follow a specific diet, then I think they could totally do that and also powerlift. And there's some people who are in powerlifting that came from bodybuilding, so they're used to that like nutritional restriction and just like keeping track of everything that they eat in a day, and they can also powerlift. So I think it's just about making sure you have enough food. But as far as like a diet, I don't really follow anything specific. I used to be a vegetarian, and I started eating meat last year, and I feel much better than when I was a vegetarian. It's just so much easier to get protein in and stuff. But I don't know, like I don't count macros, I don't really count calories. But I kind of just eat intuitively, I guess. Like if I'm craving pizza, I'm gonna have pizza. I just won't overdo it. Like I'm not gonna eat until I am in pain,
about to burst.
Yeah, and so and I know that some people have like a problem with that, like just like the hunger signals and whatnot. But I think just over the last few years, I've gotten better about listening to my body. And I don't want to be all like, oh, listen to your body.
But
like,
no, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like that's some real shit.
But yeah, I think my biggest vice, or just like something that I'm terrible at, is not drinking water. I probably have like this amount of water in a day. Like this diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, it's bad. I always tell her, anytime she has anything like, oh, I have a headache, drink water. Like, what? You know
I'm like,
I mean?
oh my God, here it is.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that I want to get better at. But I don't know. I don't necessarily feel that I need to change things up. Maybe like eat more vegetables, just to get in more like micronutrients. But like I take vitamins every day. I try to incorporate protein into every meal that I eat, and I eat like 3 times a day. So
yeah.
But like I'll eat cheese when I want to.
No, Jamie's a really good eater.
I have a big sweet tooth.
She's smart. She keeps on top of it. Like, honestly, like I've seen you the way she eats, and she's like way smarter than I am. I'm kind of like the gorge yourself type of dude who like eat until it hurts, be like enchiladas, fucking pizza, all that shit.
I literally had a fucking huge plate of enchiladas. Like it was for Father's Day. And me and her get home. I forget what we were watching, and yeah, I'm trying to get myself back into eating right and like eating like a normal person and not just stuffing my face. Well, I stuffed my face, and I had to like lay over on my side like a pregnant woman because I was just like, oh.
Were you sweating?
Yeah, I was like, oh no.
Sweats, dude. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, in like specific occasions, like totally, like if someone's making you food, like that's a completely different thing too. Like food tastes so much better when someone else makes it for you, especially someone who like really enjoys cooking. Like his dad, for example, is a great cook. Like, and when we get to see him, he'll make really good food for us. So I'll definitely like eat as much of it as I can, but like on a day-to-day basis, I just try to like eat till I'm satiated, and then like also timing things around workouts too. That's another big thing. Is like if you know you're gonna be like lifting heavy, make sure that you have a few meals in you. I can't eat right before lifting, which a lot of people can do. I don't understand that, but like I have to wait at least like an hour and a half
Before you could go get back in the swimming pool
after
you eat.
Yeah, that rule. But I don't know, bodybuilding I don't know much about it, but it just seems so interesting, and I feel like to be good at it you have to be, well, this goes for a lot of things, but I feel like you have to become very obsessive about it. Like, it has to be your life. Like, if you're really trying to go far with it, and just kind of, like, plan everything around your, like, training and eating, and make sure that you, like, if you're going to be out of town, like, make sure you have your meals with you, and, like, you have, like, a super long checklist of everything you need to do.
Yeah, that was the hardest part, was revolving my life around this one thing. And because I love doing it, but it was like I'm sacrificing so many other things. I'm having to schedule, like exactly what you just said, I just schedule my entire life around this one thing. And when it was all said and done, like I'm glad I did the experience, and like that I know now that I can like lose a ton of weight, or that I can stick to one thing and be that disciplined. God, at the end of it was not worth it. It was not
even to like see that you could do that with your body.
Well,
know that you can.
Well, that was cool to know. Like I said, it was cool to know that I had that discipline inside of me, and like it was neat. Don't get me wrong. Like looking in the mirror and seeing a 6-pack, like that's fun. But then also seeing a 6-pack and then your stomach growls like crazy, and you're like, oh, that's why I'm shredded, because I'm not eating. That's right. So silly. You know, and like a treat for me when it was like when I was knuckle deep in it was like rice cakes and shit like that.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Like I never realized, like, cuz your taste buds, when you're like in a deficit like that for so long, your taste buds are so sensitive. So like chocolate, what's it called? Chocolate rice cakes, or like the caramel ones, those were like candy.
Yeah, those actually are pretty good.
Oh, I mean, they're good, but like,
they're not like a piece of cake or something.
Yeah, it might as well have been. Like, it was insane.
Yeah.
Or like because people make fun of me for saying this, but it's legitimately good. Whenever I would make my eggs, my coach was like, he told me the whole prep. I didn't do it. It's like maybe a month and a half of it was about to be finished. He's like, make your plate of eggs and put sriracha and mustard and mix it up. It's really good. And I was like, maybe not. That sounds horrible. No, it tastes amazing. Even like post prep, it's like spicy mustard. It tastes really fucking good.
Oh yeah, and both of those are like low calorie.
0 calorie.
0 calorie. Okay.
0 calories. It's just sodium, but I mean, that doesn't really matter. That's crazy that your meet is 1 week away. How do you feel?
I'm nervous, but I'm also ready to get it over with.
Yeah.
Because then for maybe like a week or something, I can just do other things. Like, because the program is like the same workouts every week. So it's cool because like that's how you can progressively overload and get stronger and get more efficient with the movements. But also like I miss just doing random things whenever I feel like it. Because like that's how it was when I was just working out in our garage. Like if I felt like doing pull-ups or like doing something weird or like something off program, like I could do it if I felt like it. Or like I really like to run. And I used to play soccer too, and I kind of had to stop doing that because I just noticed just like the running and the pivoting that you do in soccer, just like it really wears your knees down. And like I kind of had to choose between that and powerlifting because I was like, I can't do both of these and like be good at powerlifting. That's what I want to do. So yeah. But yeah, I want to like get on my rollerblades and like, or like go play volleyball or just like do something active that's like not powerlifting. And I think we all feel that way right now.
Really?
So yeah. So yeah, this meet isn't like a qualifier for a national meet though. So in August, I'm going to do another local meet just so I can qualify for a national meet.
No shit.
With the USPA.
So what are your numbers right now?
So in the last meet, I squatted 231. I benched 99. That sounds gross. And I deadlifted 297. And I had a third attempt where I was
I'm sorry. You deadlifted 297?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Well, she deadlifted what, 305? Was it that your last attempt and they didn't count it?
No, it was 303. But yeah, they said I was ramping, I think. Yeah, I was like using my thighs too much.
And if you don't mind me asking, what's your body weight at?
So I'm 119 right now, but I'll cut down to 114.
Fuck, and you were deadlifting 300 pounds? Jesus
Just about,
Christ.
almost.
I mean,
fuck. She's a beast. She's a beast.
Technically, I've lifted 305 in the gym, but like it was a very, I don't know. So like with deadlifting, I round my back like crazy, and so I'm really trying to unlearn that, which has been really hard to do. Just like trying to improve my form, and I feel like I've improved the most like weight. Like I feel like I can squat and bench heavier than I did before, but my deadlift has kind of just like stayed the same because I think I'm just working more on form with that one. But I like my max on bench is 125, and so far it's 235 with squats, but I know that I can lift more. So
I've been trying to get her to bench a plate for like 3 weeks now.
Come on,
just max out with me. Come on,
Those
max out. Let's do a plate today, you know.
But that's the other thing.
She has to stick to the program.
Yeah, that's the other thing is if you feel like it's a good day and you like want to max out, or you're like you feel that confidence, you kind of can't. Like you have to stick to what your coach gives you.
Why?
And like trust the process. Because like
this, I'm all for that. Like literally trust the process. Like I remind myself that like 3 times a week.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. But like if you're feeling it, why not?
I mean, maybe for like more experienced lifters or like someone who's been with a coach for years. But since this is my like very first program with a coach, I'm like being very adherent to everything he's giving me. Cause he's like a legend too. Like he's been a coach for like several years, but he's been coaching powerlifting specifically for like the last 7 years. So like he knows his shit, and like I just want to see how this goes pretty much. And then maybe in the future, like as I continue to work with him, I could be like, hey, what if I try maxing out today? Like, I feel really good. But I just didn't want to mess anything up. Like if, let's say I did try benching a plate this close to competition and then like I couldn't bench like, and then I felt like weak come meet day. Like, I don't know.
It's all mental too.
It is,
Or a
yeah.
lot of mental. You know?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, I mean, being so close, maybe not maxing out's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Those are still crazy numbers, though. Like, don't let yourself lose sight of that. That is crazy shit. Like, there are people in general who can't do a pull-up. They can't do a push-up. They can't fucking, let alone deadlift, bench, or squat their own body weight, let alone almost double it. I mean, I'm not great at math, but you're deadlifting almost double your body weight.
Closing in on a triple body weight, right? That's kind of like the goal for deadlifts.
Yeah.
I mean, 3, what would be your triple body weight? Like
Oh, wait, yeah, half of 300 is
3,
150. Wow, I'm so
3.
stupid.
I know. I was like, whoa, how much do you think I weigh? Just kidding.
Like 350 or so would be like triple your body weight.
Yeah, it's like
350,
340
360.
something. Yeah.
So yeah, let's say you're doing roughly, 2.5 times, 2 3/4 times your body weight.
Yeah.
That is nuts. Like, just being able to do that, I feel like you're in the top, like, 10 percentile of the country. You know what I mean?
I mean, as far as, like, if you're counting people who don't lift,
yeah, if you're counting
you know what I mean?
everyone...
Like, just population-wise, like, yeah.
Yeah, everyone over the age of 18. If you just count that as, like, are you athletic, or do you fucking do nothing with your life and you sit on the couch? He's like, hey, if whatever makes you happy makes you happy. But, I mean, you reap what you sow.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Health-wise, you reap what you sow. Mm-hmm. And so to be able to do all that shit, don't lose sight of that. That's fucking cool.
Thanks.
That is fucking cool.
Thanks. It's very exciting. I just want to be able to do it as long as I can. If I could be like 70 and still be lifting, like that's the goal.
Well, how old is the oldest person on your team? I thought I saw somebody like in their late 40s.
I think there's someone in their 50s on our team. But
there's all age groups, all body types. That's what's cool about powerlifting, dude. It's just like it's
as long as you get the weight
people. Up. Yeah, exactly. It's just about lifting, and it's not even about like it's really not about like the competition so much. It's just like just doing it. Really, like win, lose, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Just fucking like showing up and lifting weights. I think that's kind of like at the end of the day, kind of like what like the powerlifting is, you know, just showing up and doing like what you can, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, lifting
I
as
agree.
Heavy as you can, and that's what's so cool about it, you know.
I agree completely. Just showing up is more than half the battle.
Yeah, and then like at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where it's like you versus yourself, because like technically you can go into it lifting as a team, like if you have several people from the same gym going, and they do like team awards too.
Oh, that's neat.
But like you're just trying to outlift yourself.
Yeah.
Essentially, like hitting PRs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so it's very like individual, but it's also very like there's a huge community of support that comes with that. I think. I guess depending on the gym that you go to, but like I have a friend that lives out in Seattle, and they have a really sick gym, and they're just like they did a meet recently for Pride, I think, and like they had a bunch of people deadlifting out there, and like the amount of people that they had from what I saw in the pictures just like there to support, and like the amount of people that were lifting, it was just so cool. So I think that powerlifting specifically has that type of community that comes with it, but and maybe CrossFit too. Like there's a lot of different sports, I guess, that have that, but this is what I know, so yeah.
All right, we're gonna take a short break. I'm gonna go get glasses so we're not drinking out of these half pints like we're a bunch of Neanderthals.
I have no problem with that, but do your thing.
Well, I take mine over ice. Do you want ice?
Sure.
Okay, I'll be right back. Oof.
Do you have a restroom actually?
Yes. Let me just make sure my chick's not in the shower. Hey, sweetheart.
That was 1,000.
Yeah, so it's back here.
That was 1,000.
All the way down. All right, thanks. Yeah. Would you like a drink? we get done, we'll watch The Boys.
Or Obi-Wan.
Both? I'm going to say both.
Yeah, that's it.
There you go.
Thanks. Happy late birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
25. Halfway to 30.
Oh my God. That's a good way to come back into it. Yeah, I'll be 30 in 5 years. Fuck.
No pressure.
God, that's scary. Do you think about that? Does the
Yeah, let's not talk about it. I'm just kidding.
does death scare you?
Yeah.
The fact that all this ends at one point?
Yeah, I don't think I'm scared of death. I'm just scared of I didn't mean to pour all of that in there.
It's okay.
I'm just scared of what comes after
Cheers.
death. Cheers. Yeah. Have you seen that movie Big Fish?
Okay, you were like the 5th person in the last month to tell me to watch that fucking movie.
Really? Oh,
Yeah. Never seen it?
Maybe
No.
you guys should watch it tonight, like after you watch The Boys.
What's it about? Because every person that's told me about it, I was like, yeah, you should watch Big Fish. That's a movie you need to watch. I'm like, what's it about? And they're like, don't worry about it. Go watch it. I'm like,
There you go. Just stick with that. Just stick with that.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Just stick with that. It's a
Yeah.
Tim Burton movie, but it's not like a Tim Burton movie. I had no idea he directed it, and I told Jayme the same thing. I was like, I've heard about this movie, but I have no idea what it's about. You want to check it out?
is it with Ewan McGregor?
I think so. Isn't he the main character?
I'm not good with. I don't know him too well.
Obi-Wan.
If it is the main. Oh, is that?
He's also in Trainspotting.
Yes.
That's a callback. Yeah,
Oh
Trainspotting.
my God.
Fuck, I haven't seen that in a
Yes,
long time.
he is.
He
he's
looks
in-
so
he's
different in
He
Trainspotting,
does.
though. But just go into it not expecting anything, and I think that you'll just be.
Get your mind blown.
Yeah, and maybe have like an existential crisis afterward, and I don't know if you're a crier, but I just
it was
wanted
like
to.
that, dude. We did not expect that at all, huh?
I literally wanted to call everyone I loved and be like, "Hey, I love you.
Pretty much.
If anything ever happens, please just know that
I
I."
sent out some texts after.
Yeah. Everyone's like, "Are you guys okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is something gonna happen?" But yeah, definitely watch that.
What worries you about after all of this?
I think that I'm worried that I'm not gonna be able to like continue the relationships that I have now. Especially like you think about your parents passing away, or like I think about my mom and like just it like if she dies before me, which is the usual way things go, unless like you die young as a child. Like I'm already scared about not having her while I'm still alive, but then I also worry about like after I die, is it just darkness? Do you even have like a consciousness? And if you do have a consciousness in the same way that like we have one now, like are you alone? Like is there anyone there with you? Do you get to see the people that you knew in this life? Because like if I were to, everyone has like different ideas of heaven, but I guess mine would be like being able to be with my family and friends that I love after I die, and being able to like continue to have some type of consciousness with them. Because like when I was a Christian, I never really worried about that sort of thing. You're just like, at least I was just like so certain that there was a heaven, and that like if I did everything right like in my life, that I was expected to as a Christian, that I was gonna be there. And then like if the people that I loved accepted Jesus as their savior, then they would be there too.
Yeah.
And like you just like go on with that perspective for a little while. So like I feel like I never really had a chance to be scared of death, because I just thought that like I was so certain about what I would experience after. But now that's not the case.
What turned you away from it, if you don't mind me asking? Was it
So
like
many
I was going to say, well, because I grew up in a very Christian household, and I had religion just absolutely, like people say, shoved down. It was pile drived down my throat. Like
Really?
it was shoveled. Like my upbringing, my parents divorced when I was about 4-ish, 3-4 years old. And so I spent most of my time at my mom's house. After the age of 7, I spent all of it at my mom's house. And she, very generic Christian white lady. Like the most generic stereotype. It was Harry Potter's of the devil. Ozzy Osbourne eats animals and he's a Satanist. You like when it came to like music I would listen to, she checked like all the lyrics. I couldn't play like rated M video games. It was, all this stuff.
Oh my God, would she like open up the CD and like read the?
Oh, it was worse.
Oh.
Because she had a Mac, right? So then we had like the beta versions of like iTunes and shit.
Oh.
So if there was a song that I wanted to download or whatever, or an album, she would go on Google and look up all the lyrics for every song, like on the. And I remember when I was a kid, my dad got me. I think it was my dad who got me it, or maybe it was another relative. They got me Death Magnetic by Metallica.
Oh.
Right, great album. Well, she decided to crack that baby open, and that's back when the CD still had the lyrics in the pamphlet, or it was called like the booklet. And the only song she let me listen on my iPod, like let me put on my iPod, was the instrumental. And the if you remember anything about that album, the instrumental is called Suicide and Redemption. So I remember listening to that as a kid and thinking, so I get it's violence and I get there's like drugs on this album. There's no cussing, but like there's just like mature themes. Let's put it that way. But why is the song Suicide and Redemption okay? Just because it's a lot of loud noise,
Yeah.
But the reason I bring all this up is like I see like every which way that like specifically Christianity, that's what my background is in, where like that can turn so many people away. And like whether it's like and 100%, in my opinion, 100% of that is from people either portraying it wrong or they're just taking it to an absolute extreme. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's stuff like the Westboro Baptist Church, and they aren't Christians, right? They're just very hateful supremacists. But like people who just like condemn. It's like, oh, if you're gay, you're going to hell. If you take the Lord's name in vain, you're going to hell. You do X, Y, and Z. You've heard it.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So was it stuff like that, or was it just like one big thing where you're like, you know what, this is kind of bullshit. I'm not going to play this game anymore.
Probably like a little bit of both. Like I definitely agree that the reason people end up leaving the church has to do a lot with the way that they were treated, because like everyone's gonna remember the way that someone made them feel. And so like and it's different from church to church, because you could have like two non-denominational, like Protestant technically, but like two non-denominational, because I think Calvary technically is like non-denominational.
Yeah.
And so is Legacy.
How do you think they make so much money? They have to be non-denominational.
Yeah, right.
Come on now. It's a business.
Yeah. So like if you look at those two churches, because those are probably the two largest churches here next to Sagebrush.
I was going to say Sagebrush is up there somewhere.
Yeah. Like there's going to be some differences in the way that they teach things. Like, because I used to go to Legacy, and I was heavily involved there for years. And every once in a while I would go to like a Calvary service. And I actually really liked Skip, because it felt a lot more like I was in a class.
Yeah.
And like he was a professor, and he would go line by line with the Bible and like go into like the history of like the word that was being used.
Yeah.
And like
Skip is the shit.
Yeah. And so like that was kind of like,
he's one of my goals. It's seriously like he's one of my goals is sit down with him eventually. That's like the 5-year plan. But
I feel like he's probably someone that could talk to anybody, and like that's definitely the vibe that I got from him. But like the church that I went to, it was more like big theme, like types of teachings. Like there'd be a lot of like one-liners that he would like throw out in the sermon.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people were drawn by that type of like message.
Yeah.
And so like from church to church it's going to be different. And then like they can even teach things differently to where like the way that you believe or like the way that the Bible is interpreted is different. Like, so even going from like two similar types of churches, like comparing those two, there can be so many differences in what people believe. So like the church that I went to, if you didn't believe that like the Bible was the inerrant word of God, then like they didn't like that. Like you had to believe, right? Yeah. You had to believe that.
Okay, sorry, I'm going to cut you off. Give me 2 seconds. I don't know why that camera just turned over. Oh no, I know why. Because again, we're. Do you need the microwave, sweetheart? Because again, we're Joe Rogan, but not with the $100 million. I forgot to plug in the camera and unplug the microwave.
Oh darn.
Yeah, but it's just my camera. So there's hundreds of hours where people can see my ugly face. And we're still rolling too. Look at that.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And that's still rolling. Okay. Anyway, you were saying with legacy.
Right. So like, if you didn't believe exactly as they taught, at least that's the way it felt to me, then you were kind of like an outsider. You weren't completely in it. And so like when I started going when I was 14 and I stopped going when I was maybe 19, 20.
Were you like dragged to church, or were you like, hey, this might be something that I want to get into?
I went because my friend invited me.
Okay. And
it was at first it was a place I would go to hang out with my friends. And then it became like my friends stopped going, and then I still really liked it. And then I got kind of like close to like the regular church going people.
Community. Yeah.
And then I started I like auditioned or whatever for their worship team, what they called it, like the praise and worship band. Mm-hmm. And I really liked that because I really liked to sing and I really liked music. So that's like, that definitely like attracted me. And then I started like volunteering, and then I started and then I got onto their like, they called it their drama team, which was essentially like the people who would put skits together. And I got like really involved in that. And then like later on I got involved in like the I guess more production side of things, like behind the scenes, like what would you call it? Just like the
like producing the like not the like sermon, but like
slideshows and everything that would
the media
like,
side of things.
Yeah, media. And that was kind of like the end of my volunteering there. That's where I ended it. But just so many, like, there were a lot of good people there. I don't want it to come across as like all of these people were terrible, like they don't mean anything to me. Like, I still think about a lot of those people often and how they had an impact on my life. But then I also think about the people who were in a position of power and how like there were so many young people there that they had such a strong impact on their life that like a lot of times it felt like manipulation looking back at like what they had us doing. So like, and just like so strict about things and just like stifling any sort of like behavior that appeared that it was sin. So like we went on a trip and I sat next to my boyfriend at the time on the bus, and I couldn't sit next to him because I was a girl and he was a boy, and that's not right.
How old were you?
16. And
fucking insane.
And like because I was like in leadership and like volunteering there, they'll look more closely at your life to like make sure that you're like not doing anything bad, right? So they'll ask you personal questions.
You just gave me like flashbacks of military school.
Oh, no.
Being a part of leadership. Oh no, I get it.
Oh no, that term leadership.
No, but I get it. Continue. Yeah.
Yeah, so things like that. Like I would be asked very personal questions like, have you done this with your boyfriend? Or like, how far have you gone? Or like, have you had sex yet? Or like,
who's asking you this?
Doing drugs? just other people in leadership, like
Okay.
people older than me.
I was gonna say, let me rephrase that question. Are adults asking you this?
Yes, adults.
Oh, get
Yeah.
fucked.
Isn't that fucked up? It's insane.
Borderline illegal, depending
Yeah,
on what
absolutely.
your structure is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get fucked.
And
But
then, like,
anyway.
Yeah, and like don't even get me started on like putting people in a place like the sermon or the message or the service, whatever you want to call it, is one thing. But once you get to like the praise and worship after that, people are in a very vulnerable position. They're emotional. They just listen to something that might bring up a lot of feelings about their life because the messages are very personal and they
Right.
there's
They're the most like generally personal thing that's said from a speaker's stand.
Yeah, and it's someone that it's a person of authority on a stage talking to you, essentially making like judgment calls and like telling you this is what God says is right, this is what God says is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like evaluating your life. If you're taking it seriously, obviously there's going to be people there who are like, I'm just here to come. But like if you're taking it seriously, like it really makes you look at your life and think about what you're doing and whether God is viewing that as wrong or right. And if you are someone who believes that God is like a real entity that like created the universe and is like present in your life, like that's a very heavy thing to deal with on a weekly basis, and you can get real judgmental about yourself and other people.
Yeah.
And so like and then like other people on top of that, like checking in on you on a regular basis and trying to make sure you're not sinning, and then like and then seeing people in leadership do even sketchier things like lie about their credentials, or you hear that they like, I don't know, there's so many stories I heard about like people in leadership doing weird things.
Well, so you bring up a lot of good points. One thing, or I guess like one way I always thought about, I've never given a sermon and never preached a message, and I don't ever plan on it. Mm-hmm. But growing up in church, and as I've thought about that, where it's like, well, you're, for the people that are actively engaged, these people that are actually here to either learn something or reflect on something or find some sort of spiritual guidance, you know, the way I always kind of saw it was, I mean, if you can notice, I'm very much into like comic books and shit. And there's a quote from Stan Lee when he was still the chief editor of Marvel Comics and he was still making the books with Ditko. And it's when they were about like 15 issues deep into Spider-Man, and they're already pretty into X-Men up at this time, and same with the Fantastic Four. And he was getting interviewed, and they asked him, like, what's your methodology? Like, how are these books so famous? Like, how are they so not only like widespread, but like people can relate to them? Mm-hmm. And he says, yes, you know, we put a lot of care into these characters, and we put a lot of thought into like what they're doing, why they're doing it, the motives. We create a compelling villain for them to fight. But at the end of the day, we make these stories reflect. He said he had 2 points. We make these stories reflect what's going on outside your window. The Marvel Universe is outside. You just have to look for it. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is we write every comic as if it's the reader's very first issue. And so I think about that last part, and it's like, well, there has to be an element of that whenever they're giving a sermon. Because for a lot of people, it could be their first time in church. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it is a very vulnerable spot to be in. Mm-hmm. Even as a Christian, I felt vulnerable in church. Yeah. You know, I felt out of place a lot of times too, because I was just like, look, I believe especially like growing up, like I believe there's a God, and I believe in Jesus, and I believe that story. Mm-hmm. But I never agreed with, because like the Bible tells that like the only person that, or I guess only people that like knew God's word were those who walked with him, those who were talked to by him, and then obviously God himself. Mm-hmm. So I just always found it funny that like, this is, again, I grew up in a very Christian household, but like, this is the one dude who's going to tell me about God. He's my liaison to God. And then my mom growing up, she would deny it now, But my mom growing up, she talked a lot of shit about Catholics because like the Catholics had like their saints and they had a lot of other people they prayed to. How like no, you only go to the one person that gets you to God. And it's like, well, the Catholics have the Pope, and that's bullshit because there are no liaisons to God. And I was like, okay, well, who's this guy?
Yeah, it's like just a different version.
You know what I mean? It's like, who's this guy and why am I listening to him? But then you also bring up, probably the greatest example you could bring up with like New Mexico churches, Calvary and Legacy. Calvary, what's so great about them is like, yes, they're a mega church. Yes, they make millions of dollars. And yes, Skip is very well off. But he's also like superbly educated. He knows what he's talking about. He's very well versed, and he can admit when he's wrong too, which is nice. Like, I don't know if I would consider it a podcast or like he had an internet radio show for the longest time. He would continue through the pandemic. I listened to it every now and again. And there were times where he would get corrected, or there were times where he would admit that he was wrong. And that kind of like stuck with me, you know. But he, exactly the way you're saying, it's like a classroom. Like you're being taught something. He's going line by line and whatever because he only sections off like half a chapter for a whole sermon and just dissects it like crazy, you know?
Yeah, or like a paragraph sometimes.
Exactly.
Like.
Yeah, exactly. And he just dissects it, takes it apart to its absolute most bare bone, like the nuts and bolts. But the most important part of that is that there are zero politics attached to it, right? It's just what he's learned, what God has told him, and what he believes. That's what you're getting out of that. Legacy, on the other hand,
literally telling people to vote for a specific.
He is injecting. Because what's that motherfucker's name? I keep forgetting his name every
Steve?
time.
The senior pastor.
The dude who runs the whole show.
It's Steve. Yeah, Steve and his son.
What's his last name?
Smotherman.
Yes, love that guy. Smotherman. Okay.
Hard to forget.
Yeah, this fucking guy. So what I don't like about him, and I'll granted, I say this from a point of complete talking out of my ass because I've never actually been to Legacy. But from my friends that have gone and people that I know that have gone to Legacy, he is hyper Republican and he lets you know it. And I don't care what you are. Like, I don't care if you're a liberal, if you're a conservative, if you're independent, if you're an anarchist. I truly don't care. But because of, like you said, the vulnerability of religion, that is not the place to be injecting your own personal political views. And Smotherman was very openly, because that's like probably the thing I hate the most about this country is how everything's politicized. He was very openly against vaccines, against masks, and against the governor, and very much on the more Republican side of things, like, which is fine. Like, I'm not all that happy with the mask stuff and the vaccines and this and the other either, but I'm not a pastor. I'm an idiot with a microphone. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not influencing lives here.
Yeah.
So for him to do that, and then not only just say like, oh, well, I do it, I believe this because it's personal liberties or personal freedoms. Like, no, he knows what that means when you say that. And then to also openly support Donald Trump. It's like, whether or not you like the guy, it doesn't matter. But you're doing it from the pulpit, dude. When you're talking shit about the governor, whether or not, because I know most of this state does not like Grisham. And for good reason, in my opinion. But don't do that from a preacher's podium. That's absolutely insane to me that you think that's even in like the ballpark of being okay. So it does not surprise me that they had these people like, I remember like even when I went to Sagebrush. I went to Sagebrush. I kind of flipped between that and Calvary when I was a little kid growing up. And I remember going to Sagebrush and like being a part of like the youth group stuff and like having like the youth pastors, these hip, cool guys who like love God, but also they skateboard. You know what I mean? And they
the Affliction t-shirts.
Oh, yeah.
Flip-flops.
Yep. Spiked hair.
Yeah.
And I remember they would kind of do like the same thing because I remember like when I was in middle school, I had a it wasn't as cool as a Motorola Sidekick, but it was just this little thing that like slid open like from the side. And my mom had it super restricted down to I could text like fucking 5 to 8 people or whatever it was. And but my youth pastor had to be one of those people. Fucking, oh my word. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that would get like texts like throughout the week where it was like, how's like a part of me is like, maybe they were trying to do the right thing, right? Mm-hmm. And like guide youth and like really keep them on the right path. But then like, because like my dude wasn't too weird. He was cool. He's like, hey, how you doing? Make sure you're doing okay. See you on Sunday. All right, fine. But I heard about other youth pastors. They were like, have you sinned today? Like legit. Like I remember like seeing those texts like, have you sinned today?
Not even like a, hey, how are you?
Yeah, no. It's like, are you sin? Make sure you don't sin today. Make sure that you say no to drugs and alcohol.
Oh my
all
God.
this crazy. It was like, yeah, should fucking kids be doing that? No, not at all. But like that, like forcing something upon someone never seems to be the right move.
Yeah, definitely. I really liked my youth pastor. He, it's just weird because like at the time it was such a great experience to me, and then like in retrospect I'm like, some of these things don't seem right. So it's like it's kind of hard to try and remember what it felt like in the moment, but I think at the time like I do think that he was genuine in like his beliefs and his like desire to lead people closer to God. But just like the way that it was done, like, and I don't know, there's so much pressure. Like they've got to feel a lot of pressure being like a pastor. Or, like, someone getting up every week talking in front of people and making like truth statements about the world and their lives and their eternity and their like day-to-day lives. Like that's a lot. So I'm not trying to like be disrespectful either, but like that's just, yeah, I don't think that they should ever get political because that'll complicate things for sure. And like I don't think that like pastors can have their opinions about like politics, but I don't think that it should ever like become a part of their sermon.
Never, no.
Especially when it involves like showing support towards like a specific person. And yeah, Legacy was very big on that. I do remember a lot of that, and like the senior pastor making statements to like the media about like political issues. Like he was definitely like very like anti-gay, like all of that. So I don't know how it is now because I haven't like followed that in years, but
I doubt it's changed.
Yeah, and
it's hard to pull people out of that mindset who've been, I mean, because like people like Smotherman, I mean, not to make a generalized statement or to make an assumption about somebody, but typically people like that have been in that mindset for almost their entire lives. Mm. Like that's who they are, for better or worse.
Yeah, and it's just like the hard part is that they expect you, like if you're gonna call yourself a Christian, you better believe all these things, and if you don't, then like you're not a Christian. Because like I started having a lot of doubt about whether like God really, like if God was real, like does he really want us to believe that like liking someone the same gender as you is wrong, or like there's just a list of things that I just started to really like consider for myself, and I'm like, I don't think that I want to like die on this hill anymore. Like I'm just a kid, and I still feel like I'm just a kid. And I was like, I just had a kind of like a big realization that I was just not willing to call myself a Christian anymore because like I couldn't hold myself to these beliefs. And so I started distancing myself from the church. I stopped volunteering, and of course people start to notice. Like they're starting to reach out to you and be like, hey, I've noticed you haven't like done this, or like, I noticed you stopped tithing. Like,
I was literally thinking, like, when did you get to bring up the tithing part? When is
Oh my
that
God.
coming up?
What's tithing?
giving 10% of your income to the church.
Yeah, of course they'd ask about that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I was going to join, there was a point in time where I was going to join a Bible study because my like boyfriend's mom asked me to, and I was like, yeah, sure, like cool. And I kind of like preferred like that smaller like group like studying something, so I was like, yeah, for sure. But I was already kind of like starting to distance from the church, like going to services and stuff. And she came up to me one day and she was like, hey, so like if you're gonna be a part of this group, like one of the requirements is that you have to tithe, and like so and so said that they haven't seen a tithe from you in 3 months. And I was like, and
well, you tell that sneaky Jew to don't look at my fucking bank account, huh?
God!
I felt so violated. Like I was just like, yeah, I mean, I'm like going to college like full-time and like working part-time. Like it's really hard for me to like do that.
I can't put. It's tough for me to put 10% away for a savings account, bro.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, because I remember like when I was a kid, I would have like a very small allowance. Okay, like something you don't really take. Is there 10% to take? You know what I mean? Does Jesus really want 50 cents?
Yeah.
And so like I remember like going to church on Sundays. My mom would ask like, "Did you bring your tithe?" And I'm like, I didn't have change for $1. I'm sorry. Like, what the fuck do you want from me?
Yeah, it's a very that's I mean, they make so much money off of that. It's ridiculous. And like I remember hearing about it was a family that went to that church that I was very close with. They were great people. Like they would give the shirt off their back to the next person. Like they were very involved and they loved people. They were always like talking to people. I always saw them like out talking to different people. And one of them, I won't say who, like their family member got in a car accident, and for 2 months or however long, they were, instead of tithing, they were giving that money to their family member. And this particular person happened to be in a place of leadership, and the church came to him and they were like, so you can't serve anymore because you haven't been tithing and you're in leadership. And so he wasn't allowed to volunteer. Like, and this is someone who is like a genuinely good person that I've known for years, and like has been so good to me and so many other people. And like the one time that he like just couldn't do it financially because he was supporting someone else and not the church, like those are the kinds of things that like started turning me off to the church. Like I would, story after story like this I started hearing, and I was like, this isn't right. Like I don't want to be a part of this anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, and like why wouldn't the church, like that person obviously involved in the church, like they wouldn't have any involvement like giving this person money, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like they couldn't
See, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Like, there are people who just misrepresent what Christianity is about. And that's a perfect example. That is fucking
absolutely
ugly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is fucking ugly. Oh my gosh.
And there's just like there's so many stories of that, like people in leadership doing something weird or sketchy, and then or like someone in leadership like messing up in the church's eyes, and then they just get like shunned, or they're not allowed to do things anymore. And it's like, how are you gonna keep going to this church after you've been like reprimanded?
Yeah.
Like,
well, people like, so there you bring up two examples of like very basic things that people have, right, or have problems with. And the first one is positions of power, right? I mean, when you have a person or you have a group of people that run an organization, and the organization has influence, whether it's on your block or it's in the city or in the state, whatever magnitude that's at, if they have the power, like people, most people anyway, deep down, they love, wherever they're comfortable, they love being able to tell someone no, because they then retain the power in whatever transaction of that relationship that is. So whoever it was telling your friend, hey, get fucked, you're giving your family member who got in a car accident money instead of giving it to this $1 million organization, because again, if you want to break it down like that, that's what it is. Get fucked. And then so this person who did that, I'd imagine, whether it was that same day or the next week, turned around and preached God's word. Which is like, I'm not saying that people in the church have to be perfect, because they're human. None of them.
Right.
But when you're consciously making decisions where it's like, does that line up with what you're saying? Come on, man. Like, that's a pretty egregious statement. You know, like, as people, you know, people think that, like, no matter what religion you're in, you have to be like this perfect person. Right? And they see, like, the one pastor that stubs his toe and he says, motherfucker, like, you know, that goes viral, then he's done, you know? Like, that's the non-starter.
That's the stuff that doesn't matter. Like,
right, that doesn't matter at all. But then when you have stuff like that, that's absolutely ridiculous. And then you ask the question, well, why would you ever want to go back to that? And it's like, well, people need community, in my opinion, right? People need community. And when you're lashed on something like that, so like, I've never felt it personally, but I'd imagine, because I've seen it with other people, where like you get so attached to a church that your spirit, your soul, whatever you want to call it, gets so intimately intertwined with that community, and you feel that, whether or not it's real, right? Whether or not it's actually happening, whether or not these people actually like you. If you feel that attachment, you know, it does become an abusive relationship, and it can be. And with places like Legacy, again, from an outsider looking in, whenever they have that holier than thou stance, especially in today's climate, where it's like, oh, we're not going to close down, we're not going to wear masks, no fucking vaccines, fuck Grisham, this is that, you know, and they die on that hill. It's like, fine. But then when you intermingle that political stances with the religion, it doesn't surprise me that trickle down mentality happens. And then like the subservients of that pastor have a holier than thou complex. You know, that's absolute, like, again, like it blows my mind. It's like, what the fuck, man? Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it doesn't surprise me, sadly, because it's just that lines up with everything I've heard from that church. Everything. God, that sucks.
A lot of people have that same experience too. Like, a lot of my friends, like one of my best friends, the one that lives in Seattle, she also went there, and we like grew up together there. And yeah, there's just so many people that like were disenfranchised, and like,
that's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
That's a perfect way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, like they no longer want to associate themselves with Christianity because of their experiences there. And like, part of it is like the way that people operate and the way that people treat you there. But the other part of it is your like beliefs too. So it's just like both of those together. So many people I know have left, and like a lot of people my age, older than me, like people that were like leaders there when I was younger, have left, all for the same reason. So I don't know. And they like, it's almost like they try to warn you about that beforehand. Like, oh, once you're in college, like beware. There's going to be a lot of people that try to take you away from church. And it's like, no, I'm just like exposed to ideas that I was never exposed to before. And I'm thinking for myself now.
Well, because it's like, again, you know, to play devil's advocate and to, why is it bad phrasing? To be objective.
Yeah.
To be objective about the situation. Yeah. I mean, the world is not, especially today, is not very aligned with Christianity. Yes, you are correct. But on the other hand, no matter what religion it is, why would you only want, like, keep your beliefs, keep your moral threshold, and don't let that break? Fine, that's completely okay. And you should have that. But why wouldn't you want to expose yourself to more things, build up your toolbox, and get more educated that way?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what kind of disservice is that? Like, I mean, that was supposed to be the beauty behind the internet, and we saw how well that went. But, yeah, keeping yourself in this echo chamber of we're going to heaven because we don't like gay people and because we give money to this and we say these right things and we sing the right songs and we do the right dances and they do the hand motions. And I was there. They do the hand motions.
And you would think that they would want you to go get other perspectives and be like, yeah, go ahead, go learn other stuff because this is the right way, right? Or like this is our way, and like you know, go learn your other stuff, but like you know, this is what we think. You know, you would think that they'd want you to like go learn your other stuff and then be able to come back and be like, okay, I've learned everything, or I've learned these other perspectives, but I still think this is correct. You know what I mean?
Like
because
now
then
I'm a stronger Christian.
Exactly.
Like, or I'm stronger in my beliefs because I've looked at the doubts and I've compared the two, and it all adds up.
Well, because like
you should always have questions about anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I completely agree. And a great example of that, a buddy of mine who goes to Legion, his name's Sean. He used to work under Skip for 3 years, and he worked in apologetics. And he worked in apologetics, and so I remember when I had him on, he was like, "Yeah, my mindset was I wanted to be convinced out of Christianity." And I couldn't be. Not because of what I believe so strongly, but just because exactly that. I went out and I learned. He goes, I read the book of Quran. I read the book of Mormon. I read the Quran. I just heard what I just said.
It made sense to me.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But he read the Quran. He read the book of Mormon. He's read like Hindu texts, and he's gone through as much as he can.
Yeah.
And he's talked to, because he runs a podcast now called The Christian Skeptic. And he goes and he talks to as much people as he can. And he's like, yeah, I'm waiting to get proved wrong and to prove that Jesus isn't real and God's not real, but like it's just not there. And he that's another great example of like how ignorant I am. Just as like I need to read more than just comic books before I sit down with these people of higher thinking, because holy shit, he took me to school. But I think it's just another prime example of like, again, like in my opinion, just kind of digesting what you've told me. I mean, you can feel the way you want to feel about the religion, you know, that's between you and whatever you believe in now or wherever you find yourself now. But like a lot of this is just symptoms of a horrible organization. Yeah.
And it like, if you were to just study the Bible on your own and like not affiliate yourself with the church, like I feel like that'd be a completely different experience.
No, it
and
would
like,
be.
If you like apologetics,
well, it would be a different experience from what you had for sure.
Yeah, but like apologetics is really respectable because it's all about looking at Christianity under a microscope, essentially.
Yeah,
so no, apologetics. Huh? What is apologetics?
Basically, it's like if like let's say I was in Sean's position, I was the guy teaching apologetics, and you came to me. And you were like, you want to ask a super broad question, just for argument's sake. And it was like, why is Christianity correct and what's it called? The Muslims, why are the Muslims incorrect? Right? They believe in Muhammad and that he's a true prophet to God and that Jesus was alive. He was just a good person, but he wasn't the son of God. It was Muhammad. Why are they correct? And then I would be able to regurgitate, here's why it's correct. Okay. Here's the evidence. And the better educated you are, the more references and the more stuff that I have.
So they just answer your like disbeliefs about.
Exactly. Disbeliefs. Okay, it's like your disbeliefs, your conspiracies, your, just
like,
disbelief, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah. It's like using literature and evidence to like combat the doubts against Christianity. Like C.S. Lewis was all about that.
Mm-hmm.
And his actually, whenever I read like a book by C.S. Lewis, I felt closer to God than like any time otherwise, probably. Like he just had a way of explaining things that I think is very relatable to like the common person. And he was very honest about like his doubts and his thoughts. So
well, he's a reformed atheist. Or a converted atheist.
Yeah, but like in some of his books, even when he's like arguing for Christianity, or like his book A Grief Observed, like about his wife dying, like
I'd love to sit you and Sean in a room together because you are preaching the same exact thing that he was saying. That's so funny.
I did listen to part of his podcast.
Oh, okay, cool.
I really appreciate like his honesty.
Yeah.
And like, it's nice to hear someone who's like actually involved talk about that stuff. But like, I read A Grief Observed, and it was like just such a raw, like it was essentially like his like diary almost on his thoughts.
Oh, wow.
About like his wife dying and like his thoughts about God and stuff. And like he was a Christian, but he was still he's just able to like express doubt, but also like show his faith as well. And like that's really hard to do, I think. But I don't know. I think as I've gotten older, like when I first separated myself from the church, I was so resentful and like I wanted nothing to do with Christianity or God or like anyone that I knew from the church. And I was just so bitter, and like now I feel like I'm coming back around to like believing in God. Like
Yeah.
I would say that I believe in God. I just don't know if it's the Christian God.
Right.
That like the
You just
church
acknowledge like a higher power.
Yeah, for sure. Like I don't think that I think like all of this was created by someone. I just don't think that like the God that exists would say that like it's wrong to love someone the same gender as you and like all of these things that I was supposed to believe at the church that I went to.
Right.
So I don't know. It's nice to be in that place again where I'm like I feel like I'm vulnerable to like something more than myself again. Like
just like open to interpretation.
Yeah, and like I'm starting to pray again, and like I don't know exactly who I'm praying to, but
it's an open letter.
Yeah.
Anyone who will listen. Dude, it's tough down here. We've got inflation. Biden can't ride a bike. Like, it's rough out here, bro. Help.
I know.
Oh shit.
Did you say to whom it may concern?
Yeah, to whom it may concern.
Yeah, whoever's listening. We down bad out here. Like.
For real.
For
On
real,
God.
for real. On God.
Dead ass, fam.
On you, man. Like.
Please make it stop. No, I just well. So and then it became. I mean, I don't think it's ever not like a hot topic or like a current conversation in our politics. I think it just ebbs and flows, but it came up again. And we were kind of messaging about this earlier today about like just personal liberties. And we had that whole leak with Roe v. Wade might getting overturned and it might getting shot back down to the States. Like, did you think that was a part of like what turned you off from the church? It was like they were very oppressive when it came to like what you do with yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like just a long list of like you can't do this, you can't do this, and if you do this, God sees it as sinful, and you need to repent, or like you're not a Christian, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I grew up maybe from like 14 to 18 with a lot of like I was just very careful about what I did. Like I never cussed. Like in high school, people would always try to get me to cuss because they like knew I was a Christian and they were like, "Oh, it'd be so funny."
Who did you hang out with? Oh my God.
I went to a great high school, but
where'd
like,
you go? Just out of curiosity.
Amyville.
Where is that? Oh, wait, you're in Colorado.
No, it's down the street, downtown Albuquerque.
Oh,
Fourth
what?
and Gold. Yeah. Very liberal school. So I think that's like it was cool to be in an environment like that like really challenged my beliefs, and then it was exacerbated when I was in college by myself.
That's a
around
big word.
all these people, but like yeah, like I just there were so many things that I didn't do because I thought it was wrong. Like I didn't have sex like at that age. Like I didn't even want to like be alone with like a guy, like, and we were told like don't hug guys from the front so they won't be tempted. Like only give side
I'm
hugs.
sorry. That's
I'm 100% serious.
I know you are. That's what makes it funny. What the fuck? Well, because like I would hear shit like that because I went to a military school, right? So and so I had my friends back home, but they would tell me about like male and female friends, and like my female friends would tell me about how like in high school like they couldn't wear like spaghetti straps or they couldn't wear like tank tops or they couldn't, like she tells me horror stories of like when she went to high school here in Albuquerque, and I'm like, and seriously, the common denominator with all of these stories different high schools, different all that shit, but like same like standards, right? It's like, why did they put this on you guys? Like, what's the point? It's like to not tempt the boys.
Yeah,
It's like okay, I get it.
all
They've got
amazing.
hormones and testosterone and all this crazy shit flowing through their bodies. I get that, but like, what you think because you're gonna wear like these people think because women are gonna wear a tank top, you're gonna go on a spree?
Yeah.
Like what the?
Like, be distracted from the sermon, like looking over. I don't know. I guess that's the easiest thing to do is like control, like one. Like control some of the people to not do something. So
Well,
that
I mean,
they don't
not
have
to
worry.
be a dick. You know, like for a better word, is not to be a dick, but like a historically oppressed group, like to keep that norm.
Yeah.
And it's ugly to say that, but like that there's patterns in history in organizations and like especially in the West. I mean, just groups of people that have been historically, whether it's oppressed or regulated or kept in a certain box, organizations will continue to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what that sounds like.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of that.
I mean, they probably weren't asking the boys those questions. That's what I'm
No,
saying, you
yeah,
know what
I mean, they would-
or telling dudes not. You know what I mean?
With the guys, it was always like, don't watch porn.
That's pretty much it.
That's it.
Yeah. But with the girls, it was like, don't like show cleavage, like be modest in the way that you dress, like no skirts shorter than like 2 inches away from like your.
Don't show your ankles.
Yeah, don't show your ankles.
Like, have you ever seen Scary Movie 3? You ever watched that? Remember you see the porno mag and it's the girl lifting her skirt above the ankle?
Oh my god, yeah. Like showing their collarbones. Yeah. And I'm sure there's so many more things that they didn't want us to do that I just can't remember, but and then like questioning leadership, that was always bad. You could never.
Yeah, don't ask questions.
Well, I was going to say in any organization.
What is it? Rule number 1 of Project Mayhem is you do not ask questions.
Oh yeah.
That's a straight up cult that they have. So.
Yeah.
No, rule number
very
1 is you don't
cool.
talk about Fight Club.
That's rule number 1 of Fight Club.
Oh, but of Project
Project
Mayhem.
Mayhem.
Oh, right.
Mayhem.
You're right.
Project
You're
Mayhem
right.
is
You're
you
right.
do
You're
not
right.
ask questions, sir.
You're right.
But
Sorry to sidetrack, but did you guys see about how China? I love talking about this because I hate China. How China changed the ending of Fight Club? Did you guys see that?
No.
in like their own version of it.
Yes,
I've
this
heard
was
they do some weird shit with movies.
this
but
was
I don't
like
know if
6 months ago.
6
months ago, they changed the ending to they came out in 97, right? 99?
99.
99? Okay. So, yeah. So, I'll find it real quick. So, at the end of the movie, it's like, it's like a scene or two right before the buildings blow up. And Marla and the narrator, I guess Tyler at that point, are standing at the at the skyscraper or whatever. China changes Fight Club ending. Yeah, this was like 6 months ago, 8 months ago or so. And so what they do is they show a blue text, and I'll show it to you. At the end of the movie, literally they just show this, and it cuts to black. Through the clue provided by Tyler, the police rapidly figured out the whole plan and arrested all criminals, successfully preventing the bomb from exploding. After the trial, Tyler was sent to a lunatic asylum, receiving psychological treatment. He was discharged from the hospital in 2012.
Wow.
What
That's some
the
fascism shit if I've ever seen it, dude.
It's okay. The government fixed the problem.
The police
Yeah,
solved
like-
it. Don't
Your
worry about it.
police got it under control, bro.
And like, don't get any fucking ideas.
Because
Alright?
the cops will get you. Yeah, the
They
cops
will
get
get you.
check this
that's
out.
freaking
Oh my
hilarious.
god, what the fuck?
Is this legit?
Yeah, it's real.
This is legit?
Yeah, that's 100% real.
That's terrifying.
100%. That was like 6 to 8 months ago or so.
They just changed the end to a 20-year-old movie, 23.
Yeah, they just randomly decided to pick that. And I get it. Like, you know.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of like Fight Club. Like, have you heard about the whole Sigma thing, like Sigma
Sigma
movement
male.
on social media.
My guy.
Dude,
Oh.
there's there's a lot. There's
Ryan
a lot of,
Gosling from Drive.
absolutely.
He is literally
Or
me.
American
Okay.
Psycho, that's me.
Yeah,
That's
Patrick
literally me,
Bateman,
right? Yeah.
he is me.
He's
Oh,
me. Tyler Durden, that's me. Yeah, but so I can totally understand. I can totally understand why China they
No.
see these young people like, oh yeah, I see them being like, oh, we got to get these people under control, change the ending.
to really take this further down. Have you seen the set pictures of? Well, you saw that Ryan Gosling is Ken, right, in the new Barbie movie.
Yeah.
And you've seen like the internet response to that,
Yeah.
how it's only dudes
Yeah.
saying like, "Yeah, we're gonna go watch the Barbie
It's
movie."
like intended audience, it's all chicks. Actual audience, it's all like buff, like Sigma males or whatever.
I saw that meme, but it was Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver. And he's just sitting in the theater like this.
Oh my god.
But no, have you seen? Okay, I swear this is the last part I'll say about this. But have you seen the remake that Margot Robbie did of American Psycho?
No.
Was it American Psycho 2?
No, like Margot Robbie redid the whole opening scene with Patrick Bateman, where he's doing his morning routine.
Huh.
Have you not seen this?
haven't seen it.
Oh. What the-
Oh my gosh.
Wait,
It's
is it still Patrick Bateman or is it like a female?
no, it's
It's
Margot
Margot
Robbie doing it, but it's her like. I'll show it to you guys when we get done here. But
Okay.
I'll link it to you. It's really good, and I'll just show it to you. It's really fucking good. I'll show you a little bit of it. Because I'm not really like about remakes. There's very few remakes that actually make me happy.
Yeah.
But like if they were to completely redo American Psycho, I want it to be Margot Robbie after this, because like mix her version of Harley Quinn with this, like
Oh, she definitely has that like psycho.
ads.
Oh,
That was an ad. But yeah, they redid. I'll show you a little bit of this. They redid the opening, and it was for I don't know why they did it, to be honest, like Vogue magazine, but
it was just that clip.
25 years old. I believe in taking care of myself. In a balanced diet, in a rigorous exercise routine. In the morning, if my face is a little puffy,
I'll put it this way.
2 cold spoons dipped in lapsang souchong for my eyes. I like to meditate while I work on my core. Even though I was born with a 6-pack.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So and then
I'd be open to that, man. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
and then here's the part where she's peeling off the face mask.
And protective lotion. There is an idea
Oh, yeah.
of Margot Robbie, some kind of abstraction. But there is no real me. Only an entity. Something illusory.
How great is that?
Only an
How-
idea of a man.
Shake my hand.
Damn, that's really cool. I always thought that like that movie would make a sick photo shoot, but like to have someone redo it like that is really cool.
What's crazy about that movie that people don't know is that it's directed by a female.
A
as
woman.
Well. Yeah.
Well, and there's an interesting. I don't know if I agree with it. For now, I don't. But there's a critique that I saw where because it's directed by a woman, and because the men are like borderline cartoonish, or they're borderline like caricatures of themselves, that it's really a feminist movie in disguise. Because it's showing how stupid men are and how like misogynistic men are, and it's just a poster movie for like
Oh,
I
how
could see-
shitty-
I could totally see
like
that.
for how shitty men are.
I can
That
see that
totally
because
makes
me and
sense.
Jayme were watching it. I don't know when were we watching that.
But here's the
Weeks
deal.
ago,
Here's the
we were
deal.
like,
Like
what
if
the
it
fuck is this?
if it weren't for all the like brutally slaughtered women, I'd almost believe that.
I think it could still go like because you look at all of the men and they're just like they are caricatures, but then all of the women are like
Prim and
They're-
proper.
yeah, or they're like victims
Yeah.
and like they don't even have a chance. Like
They're afterthoughts, like they're just like part of the movie, right? Like
yeah, but
just
all,
for like the dudes to kind of like have their part with, and then like it goes away.
yeah, like all of the men are kind of like playing a role. It's like they're wanting to be perceived a certain way, but that one woman that he like has an affair with, she's just like she's just like drugged up.
I was gonna
so,
say
like,
she's drugged out of her mind the entire time.
So she doesn't really care, and then like the other women all just get killed. So like all of the men are, it's like they're trying to put out this persona and like have people believe that they're like this certain type of person. Like when they're in that restaurant and he goes off about all of the political issues and he's like, well, we need to end apartheid for one, and like like it's just such bullshit and it makes him look ridiculous.
I think the point of the movie was just to show that everyone's kind of full of shit. Like,
yeah.
Especially those, like, they're obviously like Wall Street like brokers or whatever the fuck they are.
Yeah, they're all investment bankers.
Yeah, they're all just like, and they're all just kind of full of shit. Like, and full of themselves for sure, but
what was so cool about that movie being made, though, is the scene with the initial scene with Willem Dafoe and Christian Bale, and they're sitting, and he's like asking him questions about Paul Allen, about like where he's been, what he does, all this stuff. They actually filmed that scene 3 different times.
Oh yeah, we were just
did you know about that?
Watching that. Yeah, like. Yeah, and he was like coming at him like as
in different ways.
Yeah, so
like
there's one
suspecting.
Yeah, there's one way where he's suspecting it, one way where he doesn't know, and then one way where he believes he didn't do it. And then in the editing room, they spliced it all together to keep it ambiguous.
And it gives you like a weird, uneasy feeling when you watch it. Because
Seriously.
you have no idea what the fuck. And Willem Dafoe is such a good actor that you have no idea what the hell he's like. I thought it was all one shot. I was like, why is he like? It just comes off so many different ways, you know. Mm-hmm. And his facial expressions and the way he asks things is like you have no idea what he's trying to get at from, or what information he's actually trying to get out of Patrick Bateman.
Have you read the book?
Mm-hmm. I have not.
It is so I haven't read it. Before I say this, I have not read the book. But a couple nights ago, her and I went out. We got dinner, and we were at Coronado. Mm-hmm. So we went over to Barnes and Noble. We shopped for a bit, and one of the books the book that she bought was American Psycho because she loves that movie too. Ooh. But I was like flipping through it. And I just like randomly flipped through a page, and it was the scene where he's got the camera set up for the 3-way. Mm-hmm. And the 3-way goes pretty ugly anyway, right? But in the book, he's talking about like slicing up femurs and like nail gunning a dildo to the girls. And it is like hyper violent. Yeah. Hyper violent, and about it taking like thin razor blades to like down there and to their tendons, and like it's so whenever she's done with it, I'll move on to it. But like it's crazy. And have you seen the sequel, American Psycho 2?
I think we watched some of it because it came on like a replay, like it was just on a loop. And it came on, and I was like, what the fuck is this? I saw American Psycho 2. I was like, what the fuck? And I forget who the actress was.
Mila Kunis.
Mila Kunis, yeah.
So it opens up with Mila Kunis's mom. Mom? Yeah. I think it's her mom, like her babysitter.
Okay.
The womanly figure in her life, and Mila Kunis's character as a kid, is dating Patrick Bateman. And Patrick Bateman's over for dinner. Mm-hmm. And of course it's not Christian Bale. Yeah. Right, every time they show Patrick Bateman, it's some dude from behind, and the guy's wearing the mask, right? Okay. So like have like the haircut and like the side profile, and so it's like he's over for dinner, and then it switches, like it like cuts to black, opens back up, and they're all tied up, and he like bends over to like kill the woman somehow, and this little girl magically breaks free out of her rope and stabs Patrick Bateman to death. And then that's how American Psycho 2 starts. And then as it carries on, it gets so much worse. It's so much worse. So as it carries on, I watched this like at 3 a.m, and I was like 12 or 13 years old. Because I had like my Xbox 360, and then I had Netflix. Mm-hmm. And this was when Netflix was like just getting into streaming. So they had like any movie they could get right on their platform.
Oh, right.
And so Mila Kunis's character, she grows up, she's in college, and she becomes obsessed with her professor, played by William Shatner.
Nice.
And it's so bad. And she feels the, how did they describe it? She felt like the intuition of Patrick Bateman, like flow through her. And so she starts killing people at her university, building up to where she ties up William Shatner the same way that Bateman tied up like her mom or her babysitter or whoever it was, and her. And It's so
Sounds
bad.
horrible.
Damn,
It
I
is-
kind of want to watch it.
No,
I like
don't.
Mila Kunis.
I beg you not to. Like it
But
is.
I-
It sounds like
Because I love Mila Kunis too.
Yeah.
Like I actually met her when I was a kid.
What?
Yeah, I met her at Comic-Con.
Oh.
She was at a panel for Family Guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was like fucking. That was in 2009. I was born. So I was 12 years old. So she was nice to a 12-year-old. So that's cool. But no, it's so bad. It is so bad.
It sounds like the Rambo situation where they kind of sold the rights of like First Blood to make just horrible movies.
Have
Like,
you guys seen the last Rambo? Like
I
the
haven't,
newer
dude.
one?
I refuse to watch any. I love First Blood. The first movie's great, but
If
I
you have
refuse to
any,
watch the rest
if
of
you
the
have
movies.
any, we'll end the podcast here. If you have any Mexican friends that you care about, do not watch the new Rambo. It is so bad. It is so racist. And that's like coming from like I'm a pretty liberal dude. Like when it comes like socially speaking, you know, I interpret like art, whatever it is, like movies, music, podcasts, TV shows, whatever it is. I look at it, I take it for what it is, and I kind of like ingest it that way, right? And I'm not very easily offended. And the movie didn't offend me. But I remember I went to watch the movie because I have this weird thing, like I like watching movies alone. So I went to the theater and watched it. I remember sitting there and thinking like 20 minutes into it, whoever wrote this movie hates Mexicans. Hates them with a fiery passion.
What is this? Last Blood?
Yeah, Last
Last
Blood.
Blood?
So the whole plot of the movie
That's interesting.
is Rambo's niece. Niece gets kidnapped in Mexico. I guess she gets in a fight with her mom, who's Rambo's sister. Yeah. And then she's like, fuck this. I'm going to go party with my friends in Mexico. And so she goes down to Mexico, and we meet her first Mexican friend, right? This like person she's supposed to be close with and very friendly. She is the most generic, like they've got her dressed up with like eyeliner that like goes all the way out here. Giant eyebrows, these huge like hoop earrings. And she talks like this, like, "Hi, chica, how are you doing? Oh my god, you're so
Jesus
skinny,
Christ.
bitch!" Like she's talking like that, right?
Yeah.
She invites her in, and she comes into the house, and of course, because all Mexicans are poor, she lives in this fucking shack, right?
Yeah.
Like this real shitty building, no air conditioning. I mean, of course, it's super colorful on the outside, but on the inside, it's like it's horrible, like run down, right? And she goes, "Hey, chica, you want a drink?" And she goes, yeah, sure." And she pulls out 2 Coronas, and she fucking breaks open the, busts open the cap on a table and chugs the whole thing. Like in one shot, you chugs the whole thing.
Just shotguns it.
Yeah, shotguns the whole thing. And she goes, "Hey, you want yours?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." And every girl, like every Mexican girl in that movie is dressed exactly like her.
Oh.
They all talk that way. They all look that way. It's ridiculous. Every Mexican dude has got jean shorts that start right above their dick root, and they've got their fucking whitey tighties all the way up, and they've got their wife beaters. And they all walk like this, and they talk like this, and they've got their guns. It's so dumb. Like in the way they're written like they're talking like they're 5-year-olds. Like it's legitimately embarrassing. Like I don't know if it's a product of like a bad script or just they really wanted to up that stereotype.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
That's
maybe
disappointing, man, because I love Stallone.
so if you want to watch it, watch like the last, like the uncut version, like the director's cut, because Stallone apparently hated the way it was made. So he went back and cut his own version of it.
Oh,
I'm sure it's just as shitty. I'm sure it is. But like the last 20 minutes, it becomes Home Alone Rambo, though. It's dope. Because like because what he does, spoilers, is he rescues his niece and he takes her back to America, but the cartels are like, fuck that, because she gets sold into prostitution. And they're like, fuck that, we're gonna get our prostitute back. That's our money. So they magically make it across the border, right? And Stallone has got this ranch, and then underground it's this whole like interconnected like tunnel system, and it's a compound, and there's this cool little like montage, like right out of Rocky IV. Instead of training, he's just setting up traps, and the last 20 minutes, it's just all these traps going off. Like it's like some Indiana Jones style stuff. Like you've got spice coming out of the walls, you've got turrets popping up. He like there's a sequence where he's cut out, like there's a wall, and he cut out the top and he cut out the bottom, and like he shoves his shotgun under, blows the dude's feet out from under him, and as he's falling, he puts it in the middle and blows his head off. It's beyond violent.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
I know you probably love that.
Oh no, it's great. But like, yeah, if you have any Mexican friends, don't watch it. It's not good to Mexicans.
Yeah.
It's very bad. I do want to end like talk. I love fucking talking about movies. What do you find yourself watching on a normal basis?
It's been really hard to find like a show that I can get into. I just recently started watching Ozark, but I just love like mystery, crime, conspiracy. I guess those are like the three big themes. Or in horror, but like I haven't watched a good horror movie in years. Like the last one that I saw was probably Insidious. And I know a lot of people hate that movie, but like
I thought it had me until Darth Maul started playing the piano, and I was like, James Wan, you kind of lost me here, bud.
Yeah, some of the Insidious movies are better than others, but I just haven't seen a good horror movie in years, and that's why I really liked when what is that comedian's name that started?
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele, when he started making movies, because it was like a completely different twist on horror movies. And I love like all of the movies that he's made, and those are probably like the most recent ones I've seen that I'm like, okay, this is something new. But other than that, like we watch a lot of the same old movies that we love. Like
Yeah, I forced her to watch a lot of old, like we watched Back to the Future lately. And,
but we watched American Psycho a lot.
American
We watch
Psycho.
like I love Lost Boys. Like
I don't get it.
I know.
And I hope she doesn't hear this because she loves the Lost Boys and she knows how I feel about it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I think your pendant is fucking cool, by the way.
Thanks.
I think that's sweet, but like I don't get it. Like, the soundtrack is killer.
Yeah.
And I think it's fun when they go in the comic book store because I'm biased. But like,
right. Yeah.
Other than that, I'm just like when these vampires can start sucking each other off. Like this is all gay. Like this is all so gay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people dislike vampires in general, but like also.
Oh, I love like.
Well, you think that's gay, dude? Watch the what's that other one with the vampire? Is it Vampire Diaries? What's the one with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt?
Interview with a Vampire.
Interview with a Vampire.
No, I love.
I've heard nothing but amazing things about that. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I watched it. I wasn't blown away.
They're
by
like
it, but...
a lot of people say that they were like lovers and like, but they were also living in a different time and like acted differently too. And then on top of that, they were vampires. So like, I think vampires tend to be like more feminine than like
well, I mean,
people
that goes
but-
all the way back to because every vampire, like with the exception of like maybe like the hyper violent ones, like maybe like Daybreakers or 30 Days a Night, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Most vampire movies, even the travesty that was Twilight, right? All of that, they try to imitate Bela Lugosi from Dracula in the 30s. Mm-hmm. And have you seen the original Dracula with Bela Lugosi?
I have not.
Black and white?
not
Watch
watched
it.
Yeah.
Like that whole old school Universal monsters, like Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, Wolfman, like... It's Bela Lugosi as Dracula, Boris Karloff as the Mummy, or as Frankenstein. Like, that is legitimately good movies. Like, fantastic films. But, like, with Bela Lugosi, what was so fucking crazy about him was he was an Italian actor that came to the States, and he was pretty much exclusively a stage actor. And he was bisexual. So he was fucking everybody on that set. Like, he was just this sexual fucking prowess that didn't stop, right?
Yeah.
And when he gets on camera and he's talking about, like, the creatures of the night, and he's talking about, oh, they called to me, and he's got this fucking presence, man.
Yeah.
It's so good. But, like, if you watch his performance in that movie, you will see every other vampire movie so differently.
Well, it makes sense because vampires are like seductive.
Yes.
And they seduce
They're
their
supposed to be
victims into thinking
predators.
that.
Mhm,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So watch him in that, and then look, and then like every time you watch another vampire movie, like think about the other ones that you like. They're all trying to either imitate, or if they're good, they take a lot of inspiration from what
Okay.
he did in that movie.
So like David in Lost Boys when he's like, "Come on, Michael."
Pretty
Michael.
much. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
It's the seductive, like whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
You're eating maggots, Michael.
Yeah, every word that comes out of his mouth sounds like he's trying to seduce this guy to like become a vampire.
And that is all because of Bela Lugosi. Yeah.
Damn, I've seen like Frankenstein and most of the other ones, but yeah, I've never read Dracula either.
Neither have I. I've never read
so-
the story Dracula. I've only seen like the movie, and then when I was a kid, I watched Dracula 2000 by like Gerard Butler, which was
wait.
I don't have great thoughts about
Oh,
that.
Jayme loves Gerard Butler.
Wait a second.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, he plays Dracula in
What?
Dracula 2000.
That seems so.
That was before he got
Weird.
like jacked for 300 and stuff.
Yeah, that was when he was still
Like,
doing
when
like
he was,
rom coms and shit.
Okay.
Before he
okay.
became Leonidas for Zack Snyder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's where I would start with that for sure. Have
Any
you
shows you
show?
recommend?
Oh, okay, yeah. So right now, what we're gonna watch tonight is The Boys.
I have seen the first season of that.
Watch the rest of it.
Yeah.
It is legitimately like, I don't know how much you guys keep up with superhero like media, but a lot of it, like the showrunner for The Boys is the same showrunner who did Supernatural.
Okay.
He's pretty talented, and he has a great respect for Zack Snyder and for what he's done with like Man of Steel and BVS and what ended up being like the Snyder Cut. So there's a lot of callbacks to like that version of DC Comics, and there's also a lot of like, 'cause it's like a Black Mirror to superheroes. So like the superheroes as we know them, it's like what if what if like the good people got powers, right? Those are the heroes. But as you've seen in that first season of The Boys, it's like what if
The bad people.
what if normal people got powers? What
Oh,
happens?
yeah.
And you get someone like Homelander.
Yeah.
And then for every Homelander, there's a Butcher, right? And so, as you continue in the series, there's a lot of stuff that parody, like Zack Snyder's interpretation, like pay respect to it. A lot of parodies for like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then as like season 3's been fucking wild so far.
It just came out, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going right now.
Okay.
It's been fucking wild. Like they did, like one of the opening scenes for season 3 was they used a parody of Ant-Man. His name's Termite,
Oh.
and I don't want to spoil it, but it's fucking disgusting. Like if you could think of a sexual way that Ant-Man would use his powers to go real small.
Oh.
That's how he was supposed to defeat Thanos, and I was so upset that they didn't do that.
That's
Go
exactly
right up his ass and then fucking expand and just blow him up. That's what I was expecting out of.
So
Endgame.
so the scene in the show, is they're going to catch Termite, right? Butcher and all his buddies, the boys, right? They're gonna go catch Termite. And Termite and his boyfriend, they're about to have sex. And his boyfriend goes, "I want you inside me." And Termite goes small. And he jumps into his urethra. But they've been doing blow. And so he's like trying to hold in a sneeze. Does it again. And then he sneezes and he fucking expands.
Oh,
and all this gore and viscera goes everywhere. And you see like a top part of the dude. It's disgusting. It is fucking disgusting. But it's hilarious.
Oh
Because
my
like the camera, you
God.
see like a full dick. And like the little dude's running, like jumps into it.
Damn.
It's good. It's a good show. No, but it's good. Like, and it as much as it makes fun of superheroes, it does do like a good commentary on like political stuff that's going on. So like The Boys is really good. Obi-Wan has been a major disappointment, in my opinion.
Really?
It's been trash, absolute garbage.
Damn.
We're not big Star Wars people, but I actually did want to watch that show.
Apparently the finale was dope. But yeah, I mean, I think you're on the right track with those. Well, I know you're on the right track with Ozark. I hated how it ended, but I also know people who loved it.
I've heard some people say that. My mom, but a lot of the really good shows end terribly. So it's like you had
Except for Breaking Bad.
It's the only one.
That one was still, I don't know. I just like Jesse went through so much, and I can't think of a way that I would have wanted it to end. So I guess I'll take it.
You know the worst ending I think was Sons of Anarchy. I hated that ending.
I never watched the full show, but I know how it ends. I think that's pretty silly that he just drives into a semi.
It was the worst, dude. It was the worst. I hated it.
But are you counting El Camino when you say the Breaking Bad ending? Because I haven't seen El Camino.
Yeah, that kind of, it sucked. It wasn't like, they had so much, they built it up so much, and it just wasn't what I expected, which, like, if something is as good as Breaking Bad, the likelihood that they're going to make something else that's just as good is...
What's lightning in a bottle?
Yeah,
how
but
good that show was.
A lot of people are saying, which I haven't seen Better Call Saul, and a lot of people say that it's just as good, but it's like a different story. So like,
well, it's a prequel that leads up to Breaking Bad. Because in this last season, Bryan Cranston's going to show up at some point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they confirmed it. At some point, him and Jesse Pinkman are going to show up.
Ooh, would you want to watch that?
But,
absolutely.
But that's also 8 seasons deep. So
I know.
Do with that information.
We're not good with shows at all.
We really aren't.
We are not.
It's like movies are our thing. But The Boys was really cool because I'd never seen anything like that. Like the superheroes were always like these clean-cut people that just like they were like born with superpowers, and once I saw something where it was like, oh, you could like inject this thing, or you could be given this thing that gives you superpowers, and then like all of the corruption and like
it
politics
gets so
of
much
it.
worse in
I'm
season
like,
2.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, this is how it would actually be
Yeah.
if people had superpowers, not like how it is in the movie.
It's like, what if Disney actually owned Captain America and Iron Man and all these people? I mean, I get that the Seven is more based off of Justice League, but like, what if Disney was a company that owned the Justice League? What if they owned Superman?
Yeah,
You know, it's scary. Do you like animation?
not really.
Not really. Okay, because if you like the twist on superheroes, Invincible is really good.
Okay, is that a show?
Yeah, it's a show on Amazon. It's the same concept. It's what if superheroes were like in the real world, what would happen? But I don't want to spoil it because like the big thing happens in the first episode. But I first watched it and I was like, wow, this is gay as shit. And I just put it off for a year. And then I heard how great it was. Me and her sat down and watched it and we were blown away. We literally just had to finish the first episode, but we couldn't get 15 minutes past it because we're just nerds and we're like, this isn't that great, but it's good.
Okay.
It does, and there's only 8 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked Rick and Morty. That's about as like animated as I guess I would get.
Okay, well, if you like the mature humor, you'll like Invincible.
Okay.
Yeah.
You check it out.
Yeah, there's a lot out there.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. But best of luck next week.
Thank you.
On your meet.
Thanks.
Keep me updated.
I will.
Very excited for you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And I think it's dope that the gym just organically put a team together of so many people, so many women, and you can go out there and represent. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really inspiring. Hopefully we can do it again.
Is there like a support link or like anything out there that people can look at for you guys' team to show some love, anything like that?
They did make an Instagram. It's called Iron Soul, so like the gym is Iron Soul. So because it's a bunch of women, they called it Iron Soul Baddies. Okay. And that's just on Instagram. So, okay. But yeah, I'm sure like once the meet starts, there's gonna be some type of link where like people can watch live.
Awesome.
Which can be hard because like there's different flights of people, and like if you're trying to watch someone specific, it can just be kind of hard. But it'll be there, I'm sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited for you. Seriously, it's gonna be dope.
Thanks for having me on here.
Oh, thank you for coming. This is awesome. I love doing this, and I love talking to everybody. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I knew it would be, but this is a lot of fun. And thank you for coming as well. It was good.
Yeah, for sure.
It was good meeting you.
It's great being here. Yeah.
And thank you guys for listening and watching, and we'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody.